going on, everybody out there? Welcome to the eye test. Sorry that we missed you guys last week, but we're back, and this time we have guests. So we came with reinforcements this time. So we plan on having a packed episode with you today. I got my buddy Troy, and I got a good friend Ricky, who has helped us build this podcast thing in the first place. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's get all the greetings out the way. Shawn, as always, how you doing, bro?
Doing all right, man. You know, and since you introducing me, I'm gonna make it quick. Gonna go ahead and show off the drink of the night. You know what I'm saying?
Got this my alcoholic ass nigga, man. That's
Glenlivet. They got a single malt Caribbean Reserve. You probably can't see it there. Too much light going on, but you can see the bottle. There we go. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get you that. That's only $35 at your nearest liquor store. I'm telling you, y'all need to start drinking scotch. You know what I'm saying? Maybe win more arguments. You see how I be doing, Mark.
Okay. Well, yeah. Doesn't exactly go that way, but all right. Anyway, so yo, I mean, you wearing too much black. I'm not even sure if I can see you on the screen right now, but anyway, moving on. Troy, what's going on? How you doing, bro?
In heaven,
what's going on, fellas?
Look, everything is all glimmering white in the background. Like, where are you, Mark? Did you die today? I know you was trying to get an Xbox, and I know you didn't. I know that shit hurt your feelings. I didn't know you died over that shit, man.
Hey, listen, we'll talk about it.
We talk about it. I can barely see the artifacts now. There's so much glint. Like, it does look. I don't know where you at, man.
Okay. Yo, Troy, what's going on, bro?
Nothing much. I'm good. Glad to be here. I didn't know with drink champs I would have got me a drink, but
exactly, right?
You know what I'm saying? If it's a commercial break, I'll hurry up and run and grab me son over there.
Yeah, like the ball went from Stone Cold to being Nori. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Hey, man, look. I'm a connoisseur, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta mix it up, diversify your portfolio, if you will.
All right. And now he inspected deck. He just running the gamut over here, dog. That's crazy. All right, man. Ricky, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Unlike Shawn, I keep it simple. I drink water from out of this plastic bottle that was like $2. Nothing fancy, you know. H2O. Keep the piss clear.
Yeah,
that's it. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great, man. Well, I'm not doing great actually, but you know, I'm keeping my DNA lifestyle as well, drinking water. You know what I mean? So just trying to keep it up. But honestly, like Shawn already brought it up, but I'm not doing so hot, man. I didn't get an Xbox today, so I feel like I finally know what it's like to not win the chip, dog. Like everybody celebrating, and I came close. Like, yo, that joint was in my checkout 3 different times. Like, well, actually 5. And like as soon as I check out, it said nope. And like, I mean, this is like throughout the night, like Target, Walmart, Sam's Club, that joint, and Xbox. That joint was in my cart, and like I'm hitting the last button, and it was like, nope, just dropped it out the cart. So I feel like I just lost the chip on a buzzer beater, dog. Like I feel.
Let me tell you this: don't buy one from Target. Target sent out emails today saying, yo, we're going to ship your shit, but we're not putting it in a box. It's going to say Xbox or PlayStation. So if they leave your shit on the door,
right, that's
gone.
Yeah, that's wild. That's a wild thing. I saw you post a picture. It was like, they're going to know what it is. I was like, what kind of fucked up message is that? Like, you just leaving that shit float in the wind like that. So, yeah, I will say this, Mark, like what you talking about, man, somebody, like, you see, you know, Bio put that joint on there. He was like, yo, so you didn't get one? He posted a picture of his. I was like, yo, I'm shooting 0 for 3 right now, man. Like you talk about like losing a chip, right? Mark, how do you think it feels to lose a chip? And then like for me, like I have it in my cart still from the Microsoft website last night. So I try to pull it today, and it's like basically saying, oh, some weird error, we can't check you out, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, clearly it's because it's sold out, but it's not saying that, It's giving me just a little glimmer of hope, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it is just an error. And then, so it's like I lost the chip, but I still got my game jersey on like a week later, man. That's what it feels like. Like I don't want to let it go, dog. Like I told Mark this. I was like, yo, man, I'm just gonna keep it in my cart, and maybe I'll get lucky tomorrow. Like, yeah, I can't let it go, man.
Hey, don't feel bad. I feel like beyond waiters, cause like I didn't even attempt anything, and I got two of them. I got the S and the S. The S I got when they first went on pre-order, and today everybody's like, I can't get one. And I went right on Microsoft, and I was like, oh, here's the X in the cart, checkout. I'm like, all right, once the X gets here, I'm going to send the S back. So I feel super, super bad. Like, I didn't even try anything. Everybody was just like, it couldn't be done. And I was like, okay, purchase.
Wow.
Sorry.
Dion Waiters, that is a picture perfect their analogy, man.
Yeah, dog.
Definitely
So
didn't do
like
this project.
1,000%. This is like what he just said to me is like when Robert Ory told Tracy McGrady, "Nah, you can't touch my ring." Like,
yeah, like it's
like,
wild, ain't it?
like I was out here in the game. I was all-star and I lost. And you out here talking about, yeah, I got this ring. Like, come on, dog. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, let's get into it. We have a different type of conversation coming to you guys today. So we're going to be talking to these guys today about gambling in sports, and we also going to be talking about analytics in sports with these guys. So we're going to do something a little bit different, where we're just going to get the games that happened this week out the way. Let's talk about that now, so that way we not rushing through that later. So anyway, like I said, we missed you guys last week. So basically 2 weeks of games happened, and so I'm going to say, Shawn, anything stand out to you over the last 2 weeks in football or any sport, actually?
Man, last 2 weeks, man, let's just keep it to NFL for now. So I'm only talking NFL anyway, so let's talk about Tom Brady for a second, man.
The highs and lows, roller coaster ride.
This is something that we talked about in the beginning, bro. And I said Tom Brady, I predicted that they would either go 9-7 or 10-6 before the start of the season. I said that Tom Brady was going to win a bunch of games because he's paired with Bruce Arians there. Bruce Arians is going to get the offense popping anyway. And I said, but he's going to struggle in games where A, the defense doesn't show up, or B, I did mention that although the offensive line might have been a little bit better than he had in New England, it was not going to be good enough. It wasn't up to the standards that he was used to when he was putting up his numbers. And then, to add a third thing in there, I'm like, yo, he's playing against teams that can put up points. We talk about how bad the Falcons are. The Falcons are putting up like 28, 30 points a week. Like, Tom Brady I knew he was going to find himself in these shootouts. And then guess what? Something crazy happened. He only put up 3 points. And then, and this ain't a game to where his defense was getting turnovers for him, getting points put up on the board for him. His defense or his special teams wasn't giving him short fields to work with. These are all the advantages that he had when he was playing with New England.
Well, just the week before, he went off. Like,
exactly. But this level of inconsistency, Mark, I mentioned it. I said with Bruce Arians' offense, it usually takes you a full season before your numbers start doing what they're supposed to. You're going to throw a lot of picks in that first season. He's thrown more picks this season than he's used to throwing in his career. He's having the highs and the lows. So everybody thought it was crazy when they saw Jameis Winston throwing picks and then touchdowns and then picks and then touchdowns. Tom Brady's doing the same thing in this offense. But I said Tom Brady probably by week 8, week 10, he'd probably figure out the offense and he would stop having the interception hiccups. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. But so far, he's struggling against the Saints. He just lost twice to the Saints. In the way that the NFC is shaking out right now, he has to win the division. because of how well the NFC West is playing. He has to win a division to get into the playoffs.
All right. Anybody want to challenge Shawn or comment on what Shawn had to say?
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I think the problem is they gave this team over to the wrong quarterback. They should have kept Jameis Winston. Say what you want about Jameis Winston. He throws picks. He does stupid shit on and off the field. But you really think he would have went through that game with only scoring 3 points?
Never.
No.
Never.
No, that
I'm
game,
sorry.
that wouldn't happen.
You give Jameis Winston, AB, Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, fucking Godwin, Jones, Fournette. Shit, you put me on that field with Jameis Winston, he gonna throw a touchdown to me. Like, I'm not even a fucking athlete. He would have got me the ball. He's gonna force feed that shit. There's way too much talent on that team for them to not be able to do anything.
And I'll also bring this up real quick. Between the two games, if I'm not mistaken, between the two games played against the Saints, I think Tom Brady's total is a total of 20 points between two games versus the Saints. So like it's like Tom Brady going up against elite cornerbacks, can't get the job done.
Well,
he's not used to playing those teams in the that he was playing over there with the Jets and the Dolphins and all that.
Well, I will say this because, like you said, Jameis Winston will force it. Now, that's something that Tom Brady will absolutely not do. So, like, part of his professionalism and him, like, knowing when not to throw a certain ball, like, you lose that factor of something great happening, like, in a bad situation, because he's just not going to ever put his team in that spot of forcing the ball if it's not, or if he doesn't believe it's there. Which kind of hurts him when it comes to having someone like Mike Evans, who is like a 50-50 great, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna go up and get the ball regardless. Like, so you have to be able to trust that type of guy. And Tom Brady has never been built to do that with anybody other than Gronk.
And I'll mention this real quick, and just so people know Tom Brady's history. Yes, he had. Everybody remembers the 2,000-yard season not 2,000 yards. But everybody remembers the 20-something touchdown season that what's his name had, that Randy Moss had when he was there. I think he caught for it was 1,500 yards, whatever. Everybody remembers that season, man. What people don't remember is the 1,000-yard season that Randy Moss had after that, and then people don't remember the next 1,000-yard season that Randy Moss had after that. Like Randy Moss was putting up somewhat career lows at the time, you know what I mean? And part of the reason is because he won't throw that 50-50 ball. That first year, people forget he had Dante Stallworth on the other side of him. Mark, you guys are Eagles fans. You guys remember Dante Stallworth. He was a problem, a speedster that was a problem. He's actually what helped open up the field for T.O. when he was playing for the Eagles as well. So that threat of having Dante Stallworth on the other side and all the other stuff was like, hey, Randy Moss was getting open. Like all those touchdowns he was getting with Tom Brady was just open bombs. Like Tom Brady was not. If he won't force the ball to Randy Moss, he's not forcing the ball to Mike Evans. Let's just call it that. So I'm not surprised by this.
That's why he ended up with 3 points, and those weren't even his. You got to give that to the kicker. That's sad. That's sad. Like, if you had any stock in that for fantasy, you was walking away like, bro, what the fuck? Like, should I just trade everybody or drop them right now? Like, I was shocked I got 7 points with Godwin, and that was because of PPR. Like, that shit was horrible. And it's like, if that's the offense you're going to get, what was the point of buying AB? What was the point of bringing him into this? Like, trade one of them motherfuckers and get somebody for your O-line or something, but it's too late for that because the trade deadline's gone. So it's like...
Hey, newsflash for those folks out there wondering, he ain't going to force feed AB either, okay? Don't look for AB to get more than 6 catches in the game.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Like, it's uncharacteristic. Unless he's playing in the slot, he ain't gonna get them catches.
You ain't lying.
So, like I said, Godwin, I expect some shit out of Godwin, man, but that's it.
All right, moving forward. All right, Troy. Anything that you have seen over the last 2 weeks in NFL that stood out to you and made you want to comment on?
Well, something that y'all didn't mention about that Bucks and Saints game was that Bruce Arians got outcoached by Shawn Payton, especially on the defensive end. That was a ugly game to watch because that was one of my losses this week. The Bucks defense, they said they held steady so far this year. But their corners, I know this is against the Giants, their corners are jumpy. They like jumping routes. They like playing you a certain angle. And they feel like they're going to get the pick. They're going for it. And I think Shawn Payton knew that. And they did certain routes to get their corners out of position. And Drew Brees ate them up.
Yeah.
They could have scored way more than 31 points if they wanted to.
They should have scored 50, but that's yeah.
And even the first touchdown, when they did the screen to Kamara, they knew that corner was going to jump, was going to bite on it. And the wide receiver in the slot, wide open. So I think that's definitely something the Bucks defense going to have to work on. When they play them quarterbacks that know how to look people off.
And manipulate the defensive backs with their eyes and stuff, yeah.
Because last week, Daniel Jones had Slayton open at least 4 times for touchdowns, but it's Daniel Jones.
Yeah. They should have lost to the Giants. Let's keep it a buck. Like they should have lost to the Giants. If it wasn't for Daniel Jones being the quarterback of that team, they would have won.
Fact.
And just to add to what you were saying real quick, you're talking about them being jumpy on defense, and they do it like this is the thing. When you know your defense ain't what it's supposed to be, because the Bucks didn't go out and get a bunch of defensive players between last year and this year, right? They got the same guys, okay? They have a rookie that is doing outstanding right now, but outside of the rookie that they drafted, you know what I'm saying? They don't got nobody else that they added to the roster. They are out there playing the type of game that they need to play to try to win. They're like, we're not going to beat teams straight up on defense. We got to get creative. This is the downside to getting creative when you don't have the bodies. You get killed by a guy like Drew Brees. You get killed by a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? These types of players are professionals at looking guys off and manipulating the defense with their body language. It's not going to be the last time you see the Bucks defense get torched like this.
Sure. Well, let me ask you a question before you go on from that. Now you're saying Shawn Payton out-coached Bruce Arians. Now did he out-coach him, or is it just that Drew Brees can't throw the goddamn ball no more? So all them short-ass passes just happen to be in his favor this week.
It's a little bit.
They should know those the passes Drew Brees going to throw though.
How do you stop it though when it's like a 2-yard pass behind a screen and Kamara just takes off? Like, there's not really a way to.
Well, during like the end of the second, beginning of the third, their corners started to press more, so Drew Brees couldn't just hike and throw it to him. Beginning of the game, the Bucks, their corners play off around like 7 yards, and then they guess and try to jump routes. During later in the game, when they said Drew Brees is carving us up, they started to press more, so he couldn't just throw a quick slant to Mike Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders. So that's probably something they should have did earlier in the game.
They should have did it in the beginning of the game. They know that boy got a strong arm. They know that boy got a strong arm.
Let me tell you why they couldn't do it in the beginning of the game. Because they started off with the short passes, and as soon as they tried to adjust to that, they brought in the magical running back, tight end, quarterback, Mr. Magic, Jason Tatum, that we all know. No, is it Jason Tatum? I can't even remember his name. It's some Tatum. One of those Tatums. All he does is he grabs that ball, and he's running. He's running. I don't know why no team in the NFL can stop that. You know this man's coming in. He's going to run the ball, and that's all he does. But for some reason, the Bucks just stopped and was like, nah, he ain't going to do it. And he ran. Like, I wish I had him in fantasy. I wish I had him in fantasy. Like, I don't know how everyone knows when – me and you know when we're watching a Saints game and he comes in, it's like, goes that quarterback, he's going to run.
He's talking about Taysom Hill.
This something about coaching, though. the first play when he got in the game, he didn't run. He threw a corner route to Jared Cook in the corner on the first play.
Those short passes.
Hey,
No, that wasn't no short pass. That was like a 25-yard pass.
Hey, he's gonna have
That boy ain't got no arm for that.
Because I'm watching him for the run. Because guess what? I'll take a 25-yard pass to Jared Cook rather than let Taysom Hill run for 50 yards for a touchdown.
But it's just something to put in your head, though.
Dog, why do they play against them? I understand what he's saying. Why do they play the pass so tough when he's back there? Let him throw that motherfucker. You know he's just throwing it to set you up for the run. Like, we know this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or if
They actually did. They had
if you
on
see
the
him
play
split out wide, or you see him give a handoff as a quarterback, you know he's not just handing that shit off. He's about to run out for a flea flicker. Like, come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know he's about to run out there to catch a ball. Like, this shit ain't rocket science, man. Like, but I will say, yes, coaching is a part of it, because yes, they should have been played up on him a lot sooner. Knowing that his arm is what it is, we don't even need to see what's going to happen. Play up on him, right? And what you're talking about, like, how do you beat that, Ricky? You beat that shit with discipline. If you like, I hate to do this, but I'm gonna bring up like that Ravens Super Bowl team. Some dudes gave you whatever you want underneath. And guess what they did? They were disciplined. So whenever they never bit on anything, they didn't jump back, they didn't jump forward, they just stood there. If you caught a swing pass as a wide receiver, you caught a swing pass, a 2-yard swing pass, guess what? That DB was still standing right in front of you, and they just wrapped you up. If you get no yards after the catch, it don't matter. Let that man throw all the short passes he wants to. Keep your defense stay disciplined. They stay in their lanes where they're supposed to be, and you just make the tackle. But that's the problem, is trying to be disciplined. It's hard to coach that, because you got a bunch of superior athletes that have been making plays their whole life, high school, college, and then you tell them, yo, I don't want you to make no plays. You know what I mean? Like, nah, he's going to be like, I think I know it's coming. I'm going to try to jump around. Like, you know what I'm saying? Trying to tell somebody that regularly does this to be regular. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't be extraordinary today. I just want you to be regular. It's impossible. It's like, it's hard. It takes a special kind of coach to be able to do that, man. Or it takes a leader on defense, which they don't have. So,
Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on. Ricky, you up? What have you seen in the last 2 weeks that has stood out to you, brother?
Top.
I seen that as a Seahawks fan, I want my draft pick back, because we gave up all these goddamn things for, I'm sorry, am I allowed to curse on here?
You can curse as much as you want.
All right, cool. We gave up a whole bunch of bullshit to get this motherfucker Jamal Adams. He don't do shit. He's been hurt. We haven't had any type of practice. Everyone's getting hurt. It looks like last year. I could have kept my draft pick for this shit. Like, okay, DK Metcalf is catching these passes. Tyler Lockett's doing his thing. Russ is doing his thing. But what else do you want the offense to do? We literally had to have DK chase a motherfucker down for a tackle to stop at pick 6. Like, at this point, it's like,
hey, y'all got the offensive players playing defense for y'all to win. Like,
at this point, it's just like, anybody who sits there and shits on the Eagles and be like, yo, this team looks like crap, blah, 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 but they're praising the Seahawks, it's like, are you guys watching football? Because all we're doing is throwing fucking the ball as hard as we can, running in for a touchdown, and then when it comes to defense, it's just like, well, we're going to have Russ on offense again. At least you guys are fucking playing defense. Like, this shit is horrible, bro. Like, not to be funny, I'd rather have the Giants defense at this point. At least they're fucking doing something. Like, this shit is like,
hey, Giants defense is low-key starting to look like Miami's defense did in the first 3 or 4 weeks, man. They out there.
No. I wouldn't go that far.
No, I said Miami's defense in the first couple of weeks. Because remember, I think I had this conversation with you, Ricky. I said it to Mark, too. I said, in the first couple of weeks, I was like, yo, people are like, oh, yeah. Because Mark asked me about the Miami game with the Niners playing Miami like week 4, whatever it was, or week 5. And I was like, Miami low-key been shutting down quarterbacks. It was low-key then. It's high-key now. They just shutting everything down. DeAndre Hopkins only got like 3 catches. Like, they shutting everything down. Like, I'm not talking about the Dolphins defense now. I'm talking about the Dolphins defense before they gelled all the way. That's what the Giants defense looks like now. They got a bunch of guys that can go out there and make plays, but they can't they can't stop the the every down plays. You know what I'm saying? They're not stopping the run properly. They're out there making plays, but all the foundational stuff that they're supposed to do, they're not good at yet. You know what I'm saying? You can tell it's a young defense that's just athletic and out there getting it. But
I mean, at least with that, these young dudes got it together. We got all these vets and we can't do shit, bro. We got Bobby Wagner, we got KJ Wright, and they just standing there looking stupid. I don't know how they're getting Defensive Player of the Week or any of that shit, which Bobby Wagner's got twice. And it's like, bruh, what are y'all doing? Trade these old motherfuckers and get rid of Pete. Like, we spent money to re-sign Pete, and he's still playing this shitty-ass zone that's not stopping. Josh Allen just lit us up. Not running either, throwing the ball.
Lit y'all up is an understatement, bro. like what he did to y'all was uncalled for. And I will say this though, like what has Jamal Adams done? I mean, he
collect money.
Damn near posted a half naked pic with those booty shorts with the weed in the background on the table. Like, I don't know what else. Like, and then he also came out and said that DK was Megatron. So those are the two things that I know that Jamal Adams did this year. I don't know how that helped his team win games, but you know, that's what he's done. You know, I know you don't want to talk about that, Ricky. That's fine. Sorry, I just had.
I'm not talking about a man in his booty shorts. That's not even sports related. There's nothing I can do about that.
Dog,
There's nothing I can do about that.
He was wearing a helmet. Like, I don't know what he was doing, man. But this is like, I'm just saying. I know it has to irk you, knowing that he's not there. He's not. You're not getting your money's worth out of him, and then he's posting these goofy ass pictures online. Like, I know that's like, it's like, yo, I know it's gonna bother you.
I unfollowed him on social media because he kept tweeting every 5 minutes, "Go team, go Russ, Russ we trust, such and such, prayers here, prayers there." And I was like, dude, shut the fuck up and go play. But on some other shit, we can get off the Seahawks. I've been really enjoying North Carolina. The Panthers have looked really, really good. Like, I don't know about you guys. I didn't expect shit from them. Everybody else, even in the power rankings, are like, oh, they'll probably get the #1 overall pick because the team looks so shitty. That defense has come together. That offense is looking great. It's like, wow, man, I'm really shocked at them. Like, and it's doing it all without CMC. So it's like, you can't even say it's a one-trick pony.
To me, the only
it was funny. It's funny because I was talking to Shawn about this particular team earlier today, and I was saying that when it came to Carolina put this team together just so it could get through this year, because they didn't sign Teddy Bridgewater to any real length of time. Don't believe they signed Robbie Anderson to any real length of time or anything like that. But anybody that's been paying attention, they would have saw that, like, no, Robbie Anderson can actually ball. Like, he can play. And then, like, you know what I'm saying? And then Teddy Bridgewater showed last year that he's closer to his form as a starter than he is away from it. And so you put...
He outplayed Drew Brees last year. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he way outplayed Drew Brees last year. And so when you look at that and you see that you actually gave this guy #1 running back, and then you gave him wide receivers, and he had a really good running back as a backup, because Mike Davis is dope.
I just gotta throw this out there just to add to that. Like, that offensive line is underrated. I'm just gonna throw that out there now. But go ahead.
Yeah, but like Mike Davis is dope. Really, like it's like they failed at building a team to tank, because
they should have traded away more things or something. Like, I don't know why they thought that this was a tanking team. Like did they not think that DJ Moore was going to progress? Did they not think that, you know, CMC was going to be the same? Like, I'm trying to, like, so for you, Ricky, you surprised a little bit. The only two things that shocked me about this team this year, number one, Mike Davis's play. I didn't think he was feeling that good for CMC. And then number two was, like you were talking about, their defense starting to gel. Like, they give up a lot on the ground, but they don't give that shit up through the air. So, like, and they're kind of a bend don't break type of deal right now. I didn't think their defense would play to the level that they're playing now. They're not a great defense, but they're good enough to win games. You know what I mean? So like, especially if Teddy Bridgewater's going to play the way he played, like I'm not too surprised by Teddy Bridgewater's play just because of what I saw with the Saints. You know, you're talking about what he did with the Saints is, if people don't understand, like, he wasn't in that system for years. Like, he just showed up. And then he was able to run that shit. I mean, even whether you think they ran like a watered down playbook or not, it doesn't matter, man. Like, he ran that system and he ran that shit to a T, and they won all the games. He didn't lose. He didn't lose any games when he filled in. And it was what he filled in for, what, like 6-7 games? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not surprised by the level of play, but I mean, granted, like Mark's saying, like, if they was trying to tank, they definitely went about it the wrong way. Like, they definitely shouldn't have went and got Robbie Anderson, or, you know what I mean? Like, so I mean, they are surprising me. They're surprising me with how well their defense is playing and giving them the chance to win games. Because, man, I was like, what are they going to do? They done lost everybody on defense.
All right. So with that, I guess it's my go. So, all right, I had several things that have stood out to me in the past 2 weeks. So, one, I'm going to start out with Minnesota. Minnesota stood out to me in the last 2 weeks because I applaud teams that know how to that look at what they have and look at the way that their team is playing and coach correctly, coach accordingly. Like, when it comes to Dalvin Cook, like that first game when Dalvin Cook came back, like, I'm pretty sure it was like for him to be in the game plan, but for him to get as many carries as he did and to go off like he did, that wasn't the game plan. It's just that they
actually said before the game they only expected him to probably see about 15 touches. Like, right. He wasn't supposed to get those touches. Like, right.
So but in that game they was like, oh, okay, he's going off. Keep feeding him, give him the rock, let him eat. And that's exactly what he did. He won them the game, like pure running. Like honestly, like you'll be hard pressed. The last time you seen a team that wins games off of pure running is probably the 2016 New England Patriots when LeGarrette Blount rushed 300 times that season. And before that was probably the Seattle Seahawks. With Marshawn Lynch. So, like, the fact that you have a team that's willing to do that anymore is great. And they did it 2 games in a row so far. And
actually, I think it's been their last 4 games that they've done that, because the last 5, maybe, they played the bottom 5 teams against the rush. So I think it was, let's see, they played against Houston, terrible defending the run. They played against the Packers, they're the worst team defending the run. They played against the Seahawks, they're like bottom. They went against the Vikings. The Vikings went against the Falcons. The Falcons lit their ass up because they're decent, but they could put up points, like Shawn said earlier. And they went against Detroit. They're also one of the lower teams for the rush. So I think it's more so it's just kind of like lined up in their favor. Just nobody paid attention.
But here's the thing, though, Ricky.
No, but
say that as if it's common sense. And me and Mark know that even though that might be true, you can look at all the other teams that probably played these same teams, and they ain't running the ball 30 times.
But that brings me to my next game, because the next game, or the next thing that I've noticed, is the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are holding Derrick Henry back because they find that Ryan Tannehill can play. So now all of a sudden they think they're a passing team when their team isn't built for that, or they're not built like that. And that's exactly why they lost the Cincinnati game. They had no business losing that game. In that game you had Derrick Henry 18 rush attempts for over 100 yards. He was 6 point something yards per carry. and then like you look at everybody underneath him that also rushed, like McNichols 4 for 49, Foreman 5 for 37. Like they had no business passing the ball 30 times in that game. Like they lost that game because they wasn't sticking to the run. They should have just kept feeding the beast. Like we already know Derrick Henry is built for 30 rushes in the game. Like just keep feeding the beast and win the game. But they lost that game off in the air.
Even if he wasn't, you've seen the production that the other two guys are putting up. If you needed to rest them after 30 carries, run it 40 times. Give the other two guys five carries apiece. Like, and this is what I'll say about that too is you talking about, like, they're playing the Bengals.
Right.
There's only one thing that they do great, and that's throw the damn ball. Okay, that's the only thing that they do great. And if you watch it, if you're paying attention to anything going on in the NFL these past few weeks, Joe Burrow's been lighting up the boards. Like, you have to be thinking as a head coach going into this game, saying, "Yo, we got to keep him off the field."
Exactly.
We got to keep him off the field. He will if we in the score for score game, and he gets the ball with 2 minutes left, he'll probably win that game for them. We have to keep him off the field. Like, Joe Burrow is not playing with people, man. Like, I don't understand why the game plan wouldn't be stop them from being able to do the one thing they do well, which is put the ball in Joe Burrow's hands and just have him make plays all day.
Yeah. So like that's my main takeaway here is that it's important to know like what you have and utilize it for what it is. Don't just because it pops up, oh, this person can play, now you wanna pass all day. It's the same problem the Seattle Seahawks had with Russell Wilson. Like, you were built for Marshawn Lynch to be the guy. Like, your offense is built around the run. Because your defense gets the stops and your offense destroys the clock. But you found out that Russell Wilson could actually extend the play in that he can pass, and then all of a sudden you started chopping up the offensive line. You started trying to get random people to play like Jimmy Graham. Like Jimmy Graham destroyed, like, that Jimmy Graham move destroyed that team. And now
you not being there. Yeah, I know, Ricky. I know y'all felt that. I know.
Look, we're gonna stop talking about the Seahawks. We had earlier on the show. Y'all keep pointing out what's wrong with my team. Let's talk about what's wrong with y'all teams. Explain to me how the 49ers don't got nothing. They lost to the Eagles. The Eagles, explain to me how y'all got ties with Cincinnati. Let's talk about some of this shit. We're not gonna team up on me. Y'all gonna leave my team alone. Pete Carroll's out of his goddamn mind. We know that.
Look, I'll throw you a bone. I'll even throw you a bone, Ricky, and say this. I still have a bad taste in my mouth from watching that Thursday night game, knowing that the Packers give up 143 yards per game on the ground, and we ran the ball 15 times.
Another example. Example.
Well, going back to your earlier thing about the whole Tennessee Titans stuff and why were they running the ball more, you think it has to do with them giving Ryan Tannehill a bad contract? I mean, you gave that man $118 million. Do you not expect him to throw at some point? You're going to have to make your money.
I'm going to jump on this one, Mark. See, that's the problem, man. I don't care how much money you give them. Like, people, it's like, for example, like, Ricky, if you had two cars, right, and you go out and let's say you go buy a scat pack, you know what I'm saying? You buy you a Challenger scat pack, and then, but you still have your Honda Civic or whatever, right? Does that mean that now that you bought that shit and you spent the money, you're going to go drive the scat pack all day, every day? No, man. Like, matter of fact, you should probably be trying to protect that car by driving the other one a little bit more. Like, that's the shit that never made sense to me. Like, this is the thing. They will fucking like if you want to protect your quarterback, you can't drop him back 45 times.
At all.
That's more chances for them to get hit. If they really cared about the money they were spending on these quarterbacks, they would run the ball more. Give the quarterback the ball in the fourth quarter if you need him to. But until the game gets out of hand, let the running backs do what they do. Let the defense do what they do. Let the offensive line, like everybody should be like, yo, we protecting the quarterback. We just need the quarterback to win the games when we need them to win the games.
Just because you're paying the quarterback doesn't mean that he has to become the focal point of your offense. But owners see it that way, and because I'm not going to put this on coaches. Because coaches aren't doing that. But once owners pay a player, they are telling the people down low, like, I need return on my investment. So that means I need his jersey to sell. And if the only way that they see his jersey selling, they don't see his jersey selling through W's. They see his jersey selling through highlights. So they need him to be passing the ball. They need him to do this, that, and the third. Yeah. And that's exactly why, in my opinion, if I put my Mel Gibson hat on, that's exactly why the Seattle Seahawks lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots, because they just paid Russ, and they was like, yo, we have to have him be the guy that wins the game. So pass the ball.
And also,
they wanted Russell holding that trophy instead of beast mode.
Yeah.
Well,
just to interject in there, how come you guys just didn't get rid of what's that boy's name? Wentz, and just keep Nick Foles, since we're talking about winners and doing something with a ball.
Well, here's the thing about that.
Who rolls that trophy? Why did y'all keep the man who rolls that trophy?
Well, here's the thing. We kept on one more year. It was not like we got rid of him right away. But here's the thing about that. At the time, Carson Wentz he was putting up an MVP season that particular year. The next season he didn't play. He didn't play bad. Like, he still played well. And the fact of the matter is, he was a younger player, and it's just, there's other factors that went into it. I don't think that was a bad move. It's just, it is what it is.
But Rickey, to your point, because I know you get upset. Well, not upset. I'll say you get really passionate when we start talking about your team. But let's bring what Mark was saying back to my team. Mark can tell you, I was very upset when they gave Kaepernick the contract they gave him. Not only did they give him the contract, they gave it to him a year early. And I immediately knew they were going to try to make him a pocket passer because they wanted to protect their investment. You know what I mean? Like, it was the opposite. Instead of them, like, for pocket passers, they want them to throw more. They want them to throw 50 times. Like, they don't give a fuck if he's in danger, you know what I'm saying, throwing the ball 50 times. They just want you better throw that ball and throw it every down. For mobile quarterbacks, once they get paid, they instantly try to make them a pocket passer because they're like, well, they're mobile. We want full return on our investment. And if it means taking away some of the excitement, then so be it. We don't want him broken down like RG3 in 3 years. So they just, they made him a pocket passer, and it's like, yo, this entire offense worked on motion. We were doing design bootlegs for Kaepernick. We were doing all this stuff based on his mobility. Like, they were moving the pocket for him. Now, when they stopped moving the pocket for him and say, we need you to pass the ball from here, that's when our team started doing bad. Like, you could go back to the year that we lost to y'all in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, he didn't do as much running then as he did before. And then it's like the next year after that, he didn't do basically no running at all. But it's like putting that pressure on the coaches, on the coaching staff, to be like, yo, this is how we want you to run the offense. It's like, yo, we're here because you let me do my job. You're here because of the decisions that we made up to this point. And now that we got here, you're like, okay, thank you. I'll take the wheel now. It's the biggest mistake that every single organization seems to make. And they're going to continue to make it over and over again because of the politics with the money.
If you watch that playoff game y'all had against the Packers and compare it to the playoff game when y'all played the Seahawks, two totally different teams because they asked Kaepernick to do two different things.
Totally different.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like that, bringing that all together, because even still, San Francisco this year, it's a little bit different with them this year because it's not necessarily because they're paying in any particular quarterback. It's this year. This is Kyle. I mean, this is Kyle Shanahan's arrogance. Kyle Shanahan's arrogance and his desire to prove who he is bites him in the ass every chance that it gets. Like you said about the Packers game where they decide not to run the ball, even though Packers for 2 years straight have been god awful at protecting the run. Like, so, but Kyle decides to try to pass all over the place. And this is, like, I've been telling Shawn lately that Kyle Shanahan he's a good X's and O guy, but I'm starting to believe that he's not a very good coach. Because he doesn't seem to do the right thing when he needs to. Like, just to take it off you, Rickey, because this is another team that should have kept running the ball and they would have won the Super Bowl. But they decided to start passing and they lost.
You know what this should remind me of, man? I hate to say this because this shit really breaks my heart, Mark. That motherfucker, he might be, just judging off of what he's done this year and what he did in Atlanta and what he did in the Super Bowl, he's just not going to learn, right? He's the Mike D'Antoni of the NFL right now.
No, because Mike D'Antoni ain't made it to a championship on 2 different teams. I don't even think he sniffed that shit. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Be true. But guess what? Them losing that game to the Warriors by shooting 23 straight threes and missing them, what's the difference between that and having a 2-touchdown lead and going out and throwing the ball on three straight downs and then on the next possession go out again and throw again for 3 straight downs? What the fuck is the difference?
Klay Thompson?
You say Klay Thompson? No, it's not, because they have Patrick Mahomes. It's not any fucking different, man. It's the same exact shit, man. Like, you got somebody on the other side that's gonna make you pay for that. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't have been running the ball in the fourth quarter. We like, I gotta bring this up all the time. At halftime, we were averaging 6.7 yards per carry. Okay.
I mean, I don't want to come out and be like, yo, your boy's stupid. I just don't want to be that guy. I don't want to disrespect your team. I can say that for Sunday.
I said it. This is what we get for fucking hiring a coach named Kyle. Like, this motherfucker acting like a real Kyle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Coach named Kyle.
Listen.
I mean, in all fairness, though, he got you to a Super Bowl. You guys were irrelevant until last year.
I don't care that he got us there. See, that's the thing.
Bullshit. You was happy when they was there. You was, we made it. We winning. Don't say you don't care.
That's like a girl inviting you over to the crib. You get to the door, and then right before some shit jump off, you know, she tell you she got a headache, and then she go to sleep. Man, I'd rather just stayed home, nigga. Like I'd rather just stay home.
Gosh, but did you go to her house? Did you not show up to her house?
Man, at that point.
You care. You just showed up because there was a chance.
All right. To Shawn's point, yo, if you came back, I was like, yo, so you went over there and you came back and was like, yeah, I went over there, and then like all we did was sit and chill. I'm clowning, dog. Like, yo, you like I'm clowning.
Imagine me saying, but I was over there though. Like,
He gonna look at you like,
shit, I'm gonna be like, I got to sit there. What you talking about?
I touched it. Did you touch it? No. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things like this though. See, Mark gonna be at the house sitting there waiting for you for a story, but I'm the one coming with a story. So it's like you can say whatever the hell you want, but I had the experience.
Mark accomplished the same thing that I did. So it's like Mark.
No, because you were with women. Mark was at the house like this. Damn, when's Shawn gonna come home? You came through the door, he waiting for a story. Guess what?
The only difference between Mark in that scenario is Mark didn't have to experience no heartbreak to get the same thing accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd rather just not.
I'd take the heartbreak.
I'd rather not have the heartbreak of going to the Super Bowl and then watching our coach flush it down the drain because of his arrogance.
Yeah. Now, you know what's crazy to me, though, about Kyle, real rap, is that he is literally repeating the same mistake over and over again.
That's why
it's the wildest shit in the world to me. Like, yo, I couldn't imagine how Richard Sherman felt when when Pete Carroll repeated the same mistake again in the playoffs. Like to be under a Kyle Shanahan team, like that's crazy, Doug. Like how you do this in Atlanta? Like, yo, imagine how Tevin Coleman feels. Like, Doug, you did this to me in Atlanta. You took the ball out my hands in Atlanta and we lost. You took the ball out my hands in San Francisco and we lost. Like what? Like, Doug.
And Mark, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second. Why in the hell was Tevin Coleman starting in the Super Bowl? Because he's Kyle's boy. Mostert just ran for 200 yards in the first half of the game, and they're going to fucking put Tevin Coleman as the starter. Like, Mark, we talked about that as soon as the game started. I was like, what is Kyle doing?
Hey, but Tevin Coleman played. He played well.
He did play well, but guess what? Mostert would have took one of them joints to the house. Like, that's a difference.
It's
like,
speed Tracy.
Great. Like, Mark, there's obviously a reason why Mostert is starting over Tevin Coleman right now.
Because he's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt.
No. He started the season with Mostert starting over Tevin Coleman.
He was hurt at the beginning of the season.
No, I'm telling you, look, man, you can go back to the game logs and you'll be like, Mostert has 15 carries, Tevin Coleman has 5.
He made more money than them. The boy was crying. He was like, I'm going to leave if you guys don't pay me any money. Man. They were like, okay, shut up, Mostert. Here's some money. Get your ass out there. Let's see what you can do. And what did he do? He broke for one big-ass touchdown. Then he grabbed his knee and said, oh, shit, it doesn't work anymore.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? We can't. That doesn't even make no sense because you know what? Kyle Shanahan was coaching during Tevin Coleman's entire career and watched Tevin Coleman get hurt 3 times a year. And then when he came over to the Niners, he said, let's sign him to a big contract. That's
who did he have in front of Coleman?
What do you mean, who did he have in front of Coleman?
Freeman. Freeman was making all that money doing all that shit at the time. That man was killing it in fantasy football.
What I'm telling you is he watched Coleman's injury history and said, you know what? I like that. Let's make him the starter now that I'm a Niner. Like,
he signed him for cheap. He signed him for cheap. He didn't get a lot of money. He was like, Coleman, bring your cheap ass over here, grab this ball, and do what I taught you. And Coleman was like, okay.
You know what? Maybe it's just my personal feelings because I'm upset. Do you know who we had as running backs when he signed him? We had Jerick McKinnon already signed, and we had Breda already. And
Jerick McKinnon died.
Huh?
Jerick McKinnon died in practice. They threw him the ball and he shot at his ACL or whatever the fuck, like 2 years in a row.
Yeah, what I'm telling you is the year that he was healthy, the second year he messed his shit up in preseason, they had already signed Tevin Coleman. We already had Matt Breda. Like, my question is, why wouldn't we have just drafted some? You know how many running backs we got? We got 5 running backs.
Y'all need all of them this year too, don't you?
Hey, guess what? You know why? Because Kyle keeps picking up broken down running backs. That's why.
Yeah.
That's it. I guess when they're broken down, they're cheap. And when you get cheap running backs and you run them all over the place, I guess you can win games. I guess. That's like he knew what he was doing. He's like, yo, that's like when you go get them cheap headphones and you're like, well, these are probably gonna break in like 2 months, so I'm gonna pick up 3 of them right away. Like that's what Kyle Shanahan's doing, man.
Well, then explain the rest of your team because the whole team is broke. Y'all just starting to get your defense back.
I can't explain what's happening this year. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it needs to stop. That's what I guess. If you're trying to ask me what's going on, I don't know. But I'm tired of seeing our players get hurt. I'm just done.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, when Richie James becomes the number 1 receiver on our team, we're in bad shape, man.
Well,
let's get off this.
Yeah, so we're going to take it out of, now that we covered all that, we're going to take it out of football, but we're going to keep it in, I guess, things that teams shouldn't do. And we're going to talk about analytics, man. All right. So anybody that's been listening to multiple episodes, you might already know how I despise analytics in basketball. But what I'm seeing is that analytics in just about every sport is not good for the sport itself. And no greater point is there than the World Series. You literally lose the game because your analytics told you to pull the pitcher that was on the hot streak. Honestly, I don't have it right in front of me, but Shawn, why don't you break it down for me, because you had a whole little whole little spill. So break it down, the teams, the pitchers, and everything.
Okay, so there's a news page that I follow on Facebook. He breaks down a lot of baseball footage. He's probably the only person that I know that does, and he does it well. I think his name John Boy, Jomboy. Either way, I took a look. He had a whole video breaking down the whole situation with pulling the pitcher and the analytics behind it, and the analytics that was used to pull him. And basically, it was like, hey, it's in the 6th inning. He was only at 75 pitches, which usually these days they pull pitchers at like 100 pitches. So 75 pitches, so like he still got time left. The reason why the manager pulled him is because he was like, a general stat around Major League Baseball is by the 3rd time a hitter sees a pitcher, they usually do better, right? So he's like, you know what? You got what's his name? Dude that just Betts, Mookie Betts, right? Mm-hmm. So he's coming up for the 3rd time. If you know who Mookie Betts is, no further explanation needed. Mookie Betts is about to see him for the 3rd time. So he's like, you know what? I should probably pull him. Okay? So he said that's why he pulled him. He just yanked him. Meanwhile, the pitcher he had just given up his 2nd hit of the game. You know what I'm saying? So we're almost through 6 full innings, and he's only given up 2 hits, no runs. Like, he is on fire. And if you know anything about pitching, you know anything about, like, in hockey with goalies, like, if somebody's on fire like that, you just let them do the thing. You know what I'm saying? You let the pitcher ride it out. That's where you usually see pitchers go a full game, right? He pulls him. Okay, and then of course the bottom just drops out of it. They just the relief pitcher starts getting hit all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And basically the game is done after that, right? They're pretty much done after that. And what John Boy says is, he said, now if you look at the individual analytics for the players, that particular pitcher is a left-handed pitcher. Mookie Betts does horrible against left-handed pitchers. When I say horrible, we're talking about, his numbers drop off tremendously. He's batting like 200 against left-handed pitchers. And then Mookie Betts as an individual, even though the league hits better on the 3rd time seeing the pitcher, Mookie Betts gradually gets worse the more times he sees the pitcher. So not only does he gradually get worse the more times he sees the pitcher, but he's really bad against left-handed pitchers, which he hadn't got him all day, right? So it's like, hey, if they would have actually looked at the individual analytics, then they would have said, we have to keep him in here, especially since Mookie Betts is up. But it's one of those things where coach picks which side of the analytics that sounds good, that he likes. It's more a general thing. It's easier to manage. It requires less research, and that's what happens. He pulls them, and it's like, instead of, like, even if you take everything out of it, you see this guy is on fire. There's no reason to even go to analytics in this situation. But if he would have dug a little bit deeper into the analytics, he would have realized that the best situation would have been to keep the left-handed pitcher in. And if anybody knows anything about baseball, left-handed pitchers are coveted because most right-handed hitters, which most people are, they do bad or worse against left-handed pitchers. You got a left-handed pitcher that's on fire, you let him sit. You let him sit out there. So, that's the breakdown of the situation. What do you guys think about that? Like, how do you guys feel about coaches leaning on analytics when it comes to these situations? And then how do you feel about them cherry picking and choosing which parts of the analytics they feel like using?
Start with you, Troy.
I don't have a problem with analytics, but you also have to use your eye. That's why the eye test.
Yes.
If you watch it, when they took Snell out, I live betted the Dodgers money line. If you watch that game, Snell had those hitters so confused. It did not make no sense. He had two pitches, fastball up high and a slider down low. The Dodgers kept swinging before the ball got there. Snell confidence was high. Sometimes, like when I watch the playoffs, sometimes you can look inside a pitcher's eyes and tell if you need to pull him. Snell should not have been pulled. He was in the zone. Now, I can understand if he was walking batters. He wasn't walking batters. He gave up that one hit, and that was a good hit. It was a good hit. The hit the batter, the pitch that he pitched that the hitter got it off, that's one of those, you got me that round.
You got it, charge it to the game, man. Like
charge it to the game. That was not a hit where you say, okay, you've done enough. You got to come out. Especially because the Rays was not hitting. They was not hitting.
No, not at all.
That just was such a bad pull. And when I seen it, I couldn't believe. If you watched the Dodgers dugout, when he walked up there, they was looking like, pull him. And when they pulled him, they celebrated. They like, we got a chance. The Dodgers didn't have no confidence in getting a hit off Snell that game. Mm-hmm. So that's where I understand analytics, but sometimes you got to use your eye. That decision, that was a predetermined decision. He went into that game, if I can get 6 good innings out of Snell, I'm bringing in my bullpen. But that was ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was ugly.
All right, Ricky, how you feel about analytics and just in general? Doesn't have to be this game, but just in general.
I'm going to be honest, I don't really care for it too much because analytics is something set up in the perfect scenario, and there is no perfect scenario. Of course, if you go, hey, you got this one person who executes at this level, cool, that analytics might work for him. But when you move on to this next dude who just has to get a feel for a game or a rhythm of it, that changes things. Sometimes you have a good game. Sometimes you have a bad game. And if you're just basing everything off of particular numbers, going into something saying, hey, the three-point game should work. Well, let's just use the Rockets for that example. Okay, they shoot at a very high percentage. Cool, but when shit goes wrong, then how do you explain that? And more times than right, this shit goes wrong. And if it didn't, we would see the Rockets with more championships, no?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things to where I get where they try to use it to make an educated guess, but it just never really works out. You have more chances of people going, oh, this Cinderella team won versus, hey, this team proven by science and these mathematical equations got the ring. So it's like, cut this shit out. So I agree with like my man said before. It's more of a thing where you kind of got to get a balance of it is using your eyes and then using data to support it and kind of just play in the middle. So it's one of those things I think you can kind of throw out the window.
Right. Well, I think honestly, I lean way to Ricky's side, but it's an amalgamation of, like, if I'm being honest, it's an amalgamation of what all three of you are saying. Because to Shawn's point, if you break it down further to the individual analytics, then you will see that, like, let's use the Golden State Warriors, for example, who kind of led the charge on the 3-and-slash game, and now analytics is saying, well, that's the way you got to win. Well, let's break that down to the individual. If you and not only break it down to the individual, but break it down to the individual seasons, in which, like, Steph Curry was shooting lights out, like he was shooting damn near 40% from 3. Like, you know what I mean? And Clay was right behind him. Like, you're not going to, like, yes, if everybody is shooting 40+% from 3, then yeah, that's like, yeah, that makes sense. But you can't do that when it comes to somebody, like, let's take that to a different team. Like Ricky was saying with Houston, James Harden doesn't shoot close to 40% from 3. So you trying to do the same game plan with somebody that doesn't have nearly the same amount of accuracy is just not going to work. And it's the same when it came to came to the Sixers, and Brett Brown was trying to make he was trying to make an octagon fit into a square hole. Like it just didn't make sense. Like, dog, you have a 7'4" center who's bigger than the entire world, and another guy who refuses to shoot at all, and you still want to just go 3 and slash? Like, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't it just does not work to your advantage. You have to play with the to your players' advantage, and that's just going off a game plan or going off the eye. Like, certain games, yes, like if your guys is coming out and they draining them, then yeah, you're gonna be like, all right, this is what we gotta do today because y'all hot, keep it going, like Troy was saying. But you got to use your eyes for that. You got to be able to see what's going on in the flow of the game to be able to recognize, all right, y'all lighten it up, so keep doing that. But you can't come in with that game plan and your individuals aren't built like that. If you have a team full of Damian Lillards and Clay and Steph Curry's, then sure, knock yourself out, do that. But if you don't, why? What are you setting yourself up for? Like Golden State, all they did was do what their team was best built for. It just worked out. Everybody else is trying to do what was best built for Golden State instead of just doing what's best built for them. And this happens in football as well, when you see, oh, okay, the league is a passing league now. We just had this conversation. No, the league doesn't have to be a passing league. It's only a passing league because you made it that way. Because if your team is built to run the ball, if you build around that, you're going to dominate a lot of teams, especially now that linebackers are so much smaller than they ever were. Like, when your running back hits the second level, nobody's stopping him. That's why Derrick Henry went off in the second half of the season last year. Nobody could stop him at the second level.
Well, not only, but real quick, just because, and I just want to add to that, like, everybody's preparing their defenses to stop a passing league.
Right.
So you have teams playing nickel defense, and to beef up the nickel defense, instead of having a nickel back in that position, they throw a safety down there.
Yeah.
And that's their answer to try to stop the run, because they're like, well, nobody's running anyway. And when they do, they got all these little 5'10", 200-pound running backs. Fuck it, I'll just throw a safety down there. Like, yeah. Nobody plays with a big running back anymore. So now when they're like, well, I can beat 90% of the league. As long as I don't play Tennessee, I'll be okay. And then what happens? You run into Tennessee in the playoffs and you're like, well, I don't know how we're going to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, that it's like they plan and they just hope that they don't run into the outlier.
Right. Like, the only reason, like, the Chiefs got lucky because Terrell Suggs was available that second half of the season.
Terrell Suggs and Chris Jones signing was paramount.
Chris Jones coming back from that injury and them picking up Terrell Suggs late in the season, that saved everything for them. Like, because they were not going to beat Tennessee. As much as I love the Honey Badger was going to die. Like, going straight up against Derrick Henry.
We were talking about it, Mark. We was like, he can't be everywhere. He's making like 15 plays on the field, and it's like, no, in order for them to win, they needed to be making 30. He needed to be making 30 because nobody else on the field was making plays. Like you said, it wasn't enough, you know?
Right. So, like, you have to. So, like, I'm just going to wrap that up by saying, like, you have to work with what you have, and
play to your strength.
Yeah, stick to your strengths. And we talked about it with Seattle for you, San Fran for you, Shawn, and right now, unfortunately, the Eagles don't have any strengths, so I can't point to nothing. So,
well, let me add one more thing to the analytics talk. I just want, and I'll close it right there. Is I hate the fact that what gets lost in the analytics is there's so much that gets lost. Like there's no analytics for what Jimmy Butler did. There's no analytics for when Gilbert Arenas says, "I'm dropping 60 on all you mother," you know what I'm saying? Like after he felt like he got snubbed. There's no analytics for that. There's no analytics, and analytics doesn't tell you the difference between Rondo shooting 40% from three in the bubble throughout the playoffs, and the difference between that and the difference between when Steph Curry shoots for 40% from three. Because if you look at him on film, you'll see that Rondo is left wide open, and his toes are up against the line. And when you look at Steph Curry, he's shooting from 25 to 30 feet with a hand in his face. Those 40% are different. You know what I'm saying? Analytics doesn't account for that. So that's my problem. Is there's so much that analytics doesn't account for. So if you're going purely off analytics, you're going to fail. I have no problem with them using analytics if they couple it the right way with what they're seeing.
All right, Troy.
Especially when you have players that play for analytics. You have some players that, like Steph Curry, what makes his 40% shooting three so special is because he's shooting from 37 feet. If the quarter about to be over, he's still throwing it, trying to make it. He does everything. You have some players, they're not going to shoot at the end of the buzzer because they don't want their percentage to show up on the analytics. They're not going to take certain shots because they don't want it to go against the analytics. When you got guys like Stephen Curry and Dame Lillard, they don't care. If they think it's their shot, they shooting it. And they making it at a high clip. So that's another thing where you got to use your eye, where Stephen Curry shooting 40% and a PJ Tucker shooting 37% is not comparable.
There's a large gap between that, even though it doesn't look like it on paper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely. All right, man. So cool. Got through the analytics portion, and in a relatively small time. So I did not get to know you guys, or I did not introduce the public to who you guys are personally. So we're going to do that now, right before we actually get into this next topic. So Troy, for everybody out there, I know Troy back from when I was going to school for massage therapy. I was doing security at a movie theater, banging heads. And probably one of the worst movie theaters in Philadelphia, besides the joint at Temple. So, like, I think the joint at Temple is probably the only one that's probably worse than that one, at least at that time. But Troy and Rickey both are probably our first two listeners, and probably listen to every episode so far. So probably our most loyal listeners as well. And Rickey, know Rickey because of Shawn, because of fantasy football last year, and the 750 group. Shout out to y'all. And Rickey also helped let us know about Anchor, so that's why we're on Anchor for podcasting now. And he's also helps us, we share information back and forth when it comes to that type of stuff.
One more thing, man. Shout out to Rickey, man. Rickey be sharing our he be putting our podcast up on the stories every week faithfully, even more than me and Mark do. So we appreciate it, brother, man. You know.
That's for sure.
Yeah, if I ever start posting stories, first thing I'll do, I'll probably post your podcast before we get to mine. So let me just go ahead and plug you real quick. You know, if y'all looking for a dope podcast to listen to that gets down on, just current events dealing with hip hop, battle rap, more than just that, just, pretty much everything under the sun that's popping at the time, man. Check out, what is it? Wait, do you hear this?
Yep.
Yes.
Wait till you hear this podcast.
Yep. Wait till you hear this podcast. Rickey and Dane. Check them both out, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dane, you fat motherfucker. Go ahead. That's my boy. It's all love.
Yeah. But Rickey and Dane, wait till you hear this podcast. The best way I could put it is it's a culture podcast. Like they cover everything that's within the culture, mostly within the Black culture, but also with what's going on in the world and state of the world topics as well. It's a really dope podcast. Their perspectives is always interesting, and above all, it's funny. So you get to laugh while listening to it. But anyway, is there anything that I missed about you guys?
Well,
Not really.
Let's get into this real conversation, and then we're going to get into fantasy after that.
Okay.
So, all right, man. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys because both of you guys, you both do the gambling thing, but you do it from two different perspectives. Troy, you are more of a traditional gambler, and Rickey does the gambling from the fantasy, the DFS, daily fantasy leagues perspective. But Troy, what I find interesting about your gambling is you still like do it like almost completely old school still, right? Like you still be going to poppy stores and like with the paper, like you got your bet circled in the paper and be like, yo, here you go. Like how that work? Like,
well, it's actually a website that basically tell you all the spreads, just like the normal spreads, FanDuel, everything. So I look at all the games, choose my spots. That's where a lot of people mess up. They try to win every game, but don't try to win every game. I just try to find my best 2 or 3 games I like, and that's what I wager on.
Okay. All right. So now here's the thing. Like you said, like you still doing the poppy store thing. Like so how do they decide like what spread they going to use? Because like
they use the official spreads.
So they use the official spreads that's in the paper, or like okay.
Yeah, official spreads.
Okay, because
and the reason why he's asking that because me and Mark, both spend time in Vegas, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I've seen Rickey, Lance, be posted in the group, and he'll like when he's doing his videos for spreads and stuff. I'm like, yo, I heard what you said in the video, but when I go to Vegas, they spreads is different.
the spreads they change daily.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the Bucks and the Saints, that spread it started with Tampa Bay -4.5, but it closed at Tampa Bay -3. So it all depends on when you go bet. If you look on Friday and it's still at 4.5, if you bet it, you get that +4.5 or that -4.5. If you wait until right before the game, whatever the spread go to, because there's certain bettors that in Vegas they move the lines to a number where they want it.
Yes.
Right. Well, I mean, like, here, my thing about that is because, like, I can look at on FanDuel at the same exact time that I look at on DraftKings, and the spread will be off by like half a point or so. Like, and I'm looking at them both at the same time, so I was just curious as to which.
That's probably just me. They probably didn't update it yet, or also the price. Certain books have better prices, like because I go to the poppy stores, but I also got my FanDuel and my Parks.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, just say to win $100 at a poppy store, you bet the not the spread, but the dollar amount. It might be -110, meaning if you bet $110. You bet you win 100. But depending on what site you go, it might be different. If I go to Parks, that same game, they might have it at 103. I bet 100. I only got bet $103 to win 100 on that cent.
So I guess my question would be, I guess the better question, like what Mark is trying to get at is like, so you talking about going to the stores or whatever, like do they just stick with one particular, wherever they're getting the numbers from, do they just keep it that way forever?
They update.
But what I'm saying is they no matter what, they're getting their spreads and they getting their all that stuff from one location. No matter every week, it's not like, hey, we getting our information from here. We getting our information from here another week. They going back to the same sources every time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
All right. All right.
And the only reason because the poppy stores, they had the worst odds, but all depends on what I'm betting. The only reason why I still go there is because you get your money the next day. You do FanDuel, whatever, you withdraw it, but it might take 4 or 5 a week. 4 or 5 days a week. Poppies, next day, they got it for you. There you go.
All right. So, Troy, typically, like, you be on hot streaks. Like, I see it, like, it be in your story, like, every week. And I'll be sitting here sick. Like, why isn't he sharing what he needs to be sharing what he's betting, because he winning every fucking week. And like, I need to be just following his bet, and I'll be sitting here sick. But I haven't seen I haven't seen it in your stories lately. Is it because you like, did the hot streak stop or?
No, I still bet. I don't post it because people ask me for money.
Because the hoes be on.
Yeah, people be like, yo, you
people
winning,
ask me for money.
That bag.
That's annoying. Then you got certain people in your business. And then just say, I don't like if I give, because me, a lot of people like to bet parlays, 3 teams, 4 teams, 5. I don't bet like that. I'm betting one team for that bet, another team for that bet, and another team for that bet. And sometimes it get annoying when somebody asks me my picks, and I give them 3 or 4 picks, but I tell them I bet individually, and I go 3-1, meaning I'm winning, and then they do whatever they do with it.
And they parlayed it.
And then
that one team you gave me lost, and it just be like a headache.
I feel you.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like,
okay.
Yeah, because once you get the information out there, even though it's at your own risk, you do what you want, cats are still going to act like you're responsible for them losing. Like,
and then like sometimes you would tell a person a pick, and they would say, "Why you picking that?" And psychologically, it's like they're talking you out of your pick. And then it's just like, because like sometimes like when I bet, I like looking at value for, so like for this week I went 3-1. I had the Cowboys plus 13.5. I had the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings over 50.5. I had, my loser was the Bucs game. That was a bad pick.
I think everybody lost money.
That was but I liked the number. But my main bet was Baltimore over the Colts, just because some bets, if it's a good number, you just got to take it. I got to take Baltimore. I don't got to lay no points. I get them plus money. I think it was an overreaction from that Steelers game. So the Ravens.
Yeah.
But if I tell you, I'm taking the Cowboys plus 13.5 over the Steelers, you're gonna say, well, why the fuck are you picking? Why are you picking the Cowboys? They're playing with a backup quarterback. You crazy. But I just seen the value in that 13.5 points. The Steelers can beat them by 14.
Okay.
But are they motivated to beat them by 14? No. Are the Cowboys gonna play hard to cover that 14?
Yeah. Okay, so I want to use this to segue to Rickey real quick.
Because I still have a few more questions for.
Well, I just want to make a quick comparison. We can get right back to it. The reason why I want to make this comparison, he's saying, sometimes it's about the value. And one thing I know about DFS is if you're playing the big money games, sometimes the problem you run into is the best lineup that you might see might be the best lineup that everybody else sees. And then you end up tying, and then you have money splitting 25 ways. So sometimes you're looking at the value on a long shot rather than looking for, instead of looking for a CMC, you might be looking for, hey, man, I don't know, Wayne Gallman might get a couple touchdowns, so I'm going to spend that money and I'll rather use my save salary by picking up Gallman instead of this. Sometimes you go with the oddball lineup in DFS based on value and not on who's the most reliable. Is that not true, Rickey? Like if you want
it's a little deeper than that. When we get through this, I'll break it down a little bit more because there's two different types of ways to play daily fantasy sports, and I'll let us get over to that section. Then I'll explain the differences in between them because there's two different ways you can play. One is guaranteed money, and the other one is let me try to win this pretend money that's not there. That's like picking the lotto.
Yes. Okay, and I was referring to the picking a lotto money pots. You have to go with the oddball. But go ahead, Mark, whatever questions you had left for Troy.
All right. So Troy, so back to the betting situation. So with that, how do you come to making your picks? Is it like, is there any analytics involved on your end, or are you operating off of feel in the eye test? Because just real quick, you mentioned the Cowboys and Steelers. Now, because your thought process, it holds weight from an analytic perspective when looking at how the Steelers have historically have played down to their opponents, but particularly in this year have played down to their lesser opponents, and they are far removed from their bye week and stuff like that. And it's just, that's not something me personally I would think of the Cowboys being able to cover. But you,
it's kind of both. It's kind of both. Sometimes the analytics will help me stay off a game. For instance, 2 weeks ago, I think it was two. When did the Eagles play the Giants? 2 weeks ago?
3.
3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago now. Yes.
Eagles, the spread was 4.5. I liked the Eagles that week. Analytics said that on the road, the Giants, their last 10 games against the Eagles, they covered the point spread. So then I looked at each one to see, well, what was the point spread? The point spread could have been anything for that game. But when I looked, it aligned with the point spread for this game. So I said, okay, I'm going to just stay off this Thursday game because I don't have to win every game. I can find a better spot.
Right.
And the Eagles didn't cover that game. Giants was winning that whole game. Eagles came all the way back, and how much they won by? 1 or 2?
Yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah, it's very minuscule.
So, but you can't look at that with every game because you would have some analytics. They would say this team didn't it was an analytics said something about Tom Brady covered
home games. He would
home games or something like
80. It's like an 85% chance.
Yeah,
that he covers the spread during home games when he was playing with the Patriots. That's the only analytics that I knew about sports betting, and that's the one they always talked about. They were,
that type of analytics. I wouldn't I really can't use I wouldn't look into that kind of analytics. A good analytic that I've been seeing, which go back to earlier with the Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater, his last 15 games, he's 11. He's 10 and 5 against the spread. His last 15 games. which is a good number. So that's why I was telling people be kind of wary picking the Chiefs minus 10.5, because Teddy Bridgewater, he's been showing that he can cover that spread. So sometimes you can use analytics with the data. Sometimes it's not always good to just look in there because that don't factor in being COVID now. A player might not play. A player might be injured. You never know. Like on Thursday when the Packers played the 49ers. Their top 3 receivers, they called out because of COVID, like before the game. Like, what analytics can you put into that game?
Right. Yeah. And if you looked at the analytics, the last 6 games that we played the Packers, it didn't matter which team was the better team at the time. The Packers went 1-5 against us. We historically beat up on them. So you would have, even if you followed the analytics, you would have thought at least, hey, the Niners, even though they're down some players, all this stuff, they probably gonna cover. You look at the Niners being one of the top running teams in the league. You look at the Packers being dead last. You would probably think, hey, they're gonna cover whatever the spread is. They gonna cover. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then especially with the last minute change to the spread, being with the COVID outs, you were like this is the type of trap that I would fall into as an amateur bettor, as a guy that's only been betting. Yeah, I would have fell right into that joint.
Because I think when it opened, I believe the Packers was -3.5. I think the game closed all the way at 7. So a person looking at analytics would have give me San Fran plus that 7 all day. But with that COVID, all them players out, I'm not taking that.
yeah. You know.
Okay. All right.
So a lot of the times it be a feel too. You got to get a feel, but like the more you get used to it, you're gonna get your own rhythm, your own things that you follow. Cause some of my friends that be hitting, they got a whole different philosophy they use. So everybody's gonna be different.
So it's just kind of like do what works for you then.
Yeah.
See,
most definitely do what works for you. Don't let nobody talk you off your pick. If you did your research on how you feel, don't let nobody talk you off your pick. That's your pick. And the main important thing is bankroll management.
All right. So someone like me, when it comes to betting, I don't have no rhythm. I'm white. I got 2 left feet when it comes to betting, dog. Like it ain't gonna work out for me. Let me ask you though, what sources do you like to use for like your research and your analytics prior to making a bet?
Oh, you can just go to Google. Just type in what this team do against the spread, what this player, you can just type it in. They're all going to come up.
So
watch shows.
So what type of questions are you, like, now that you brought it up in Google, like, what type of questions are you asking? Like, you saying, like, oh, how does this player cover the spread or stuff like that? Like, you're asking those direct questions?
Like, you can look, like, through the year, like, not on certain apps, but if you go on Google and just type in what's the Eagles' record against the spread and straight up, they will tell you if they covered. You can look at it yourself, but that way going to take
see their record against the spread, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
You're saying so.
Or you can type in if they play in a specific team. What's the record against a certain team if it's a division game?
Yeah, I was going to ask you how far do you dig? Like, how deep do you dig? Do you just look at the surface which is basically the team against the spread, or do you dig as far deep as like you were talking about with the Teddy Bridgewater? Like, when do you decide to dig as deep as say Teddy Bridgewater specifically against the spread instead of just looking at the Panthers against the spread?
You gotta look at every game. Like, if you don't watch on Sunday, if you're not consistently watching the games, you're going to have to specifically look, because you got to see if, like for Teddy Bridgewater, he's covering the games, but is he covering the game as an underdog or a favorite.
Got it. Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater, most of his losses come from him being as a favorite. So I want to look at him as a favorite. If he's an underdog getting a lot of points, 6.7 points, stuff like that, is showing that he's good at covering those. So that's something you should consider in your bet.
Okay, I'm just gonna let you know I'm taking notes right now because I'm okay, but I be losing too much, man. I be losing too much, but then also I be fucking with the parlays too much too. So,
what
I learned my lesson on that. One team, I still do play parlays, but not like 5 or 6 teams like I used to, because that one team that's like it's a heartbreaker.
Good time.
All right, so last couple of questions, man. What's the most you've lost in a single day versus a single? Yeah, what's the most you've lost in a single day?
Like on one game, or just like a
a day? Because you don't do parlays and stuff, and you do multiple bets in a day. So like, what's the most you lost in a single day?
Probably lost about like 700.
Okay. Whew. All right. So like, what's the most you ever bet? And actually, better question is, what's your average bet? Like in a day, like how much are you betting average? Or like, what are you betting per game rather?
1 unit, meaning to win $100, 1 unit.
Okay. And
now, if it's a game that I really, really, really like, I will up it. But I won't do that for every game, just for that one specific game that I really like.
Okay. And what's the most you won in a day?
Of just one game, or just like multiple?
The day.
Multiple games, whatever, just one day.
Yeah, just the day. Like multiple games or whatever from that day.
Probably around like about like 1,700.
Okay.
Man, I must be doing it wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm doing it wrong, clearly, man. but that's why we here now. That's why we here. So
yeah. So that's it for my questions.
That's why when I was posting my tickets, Mark, I will put a emoji.
Yeah, you always ask out what was there.
Cause somebody sees like, hold on, what the hell going on here?
You don't need nobody running down on you, man.
Yeah. But most of the stuff I learned from one of my close friends. He's a heavy gambler. He's somebody, he bets 1,500, 2,000 on the game like it's nothing.
Oh shit.
Honestly, I didn't bet today. I didn't bet today because I bet on what I know. I don't know these college teams that play today. He bet every day, and while we was on this, he texted me, and I knew it was about a game. So we about to see what he betted on.
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you what got me.
I don't know. So it said he betted 1,500 on Ohio minus 7.5.
Ohio State? Did they play there?
No, he said Ohio.
Ohio.
Okay.
That's when you know you deep in the game. When you putting bets on.
So yeah, he's deep. I'm not that deep.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild stuff. All right, man. That's it for the questions I have. Rickey, Shawn.
I don't even want to put 1,500 down on rent, let alone a fucking bet. God damn.
Oh man, that
like,
shit is wild to me.
Yeah, shit.
I be crying about the little $20 I lose in my parlay, man.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
I don't know, man.
Rickey, you have any questions for Troy about betting or anything? from what you heard?
Nah, he taught me enough. I've never tried to get into the odd thing because I've never understood it, but I think I got a grasp on it, so I'm gonna go get in the lab and probably test it this weekend.
All right, cool, dope. Because that's what I wanted to try to do, was introduce more people into, like, if they ever had any questions, hear from a aficionado that be in these streets. All right, man.
So I'm trying to remember the name of what it's called, but like you can like one of the things that he alluded to real quick is like he's talking about adding points to the spread or adding points or taking away points from the spread. It's something that you're capable of doing in Vegas. I don't know what's different.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Vegas and other places, but like
Vegas, you can do anything.
Yeah. Like for example, Mark, like let's say the odds are, let's say the money line. Let's say the money line is plus 200, which basically I'm gonna give a scenario. They're saying that the Eagles are they're the 7-point underdogs to the Vikings. Let's say that, right? And they saying it's plus 200, meaning I bet 100, I get 200 for the victory if I bet on the Eagles. Now, what I can do is here in Vegas, I can add what they call buying points. I can add 3 points to that spread and say, I don't want it to be a 7-point spread. I want it to be a 10-point spread. But what they do is they knock points off the money line. So now instead of it being 200 plus 200, it might be.
If you buy 3 points, that should knock it down to 3 points is like 75 cents. So probably make it like
that'd be like 125 then. See,
yeah.
Feel like you can you're gonna get paid out less, but there's a higher chance of winning. So what you have is sometimes people will place bets in a parlay, because I've done this before and still lost. I place bets in a parlay, and I'm like, yo, I want to add points to this one. I want to add points to that one. I'm going to add points to all these bets in my parlay because that'll up the percentage chance of me getting all 5 of these games. And it doesn't matter. You still, because they only really allow you to go up so many points. You can only buy so many points. They're not going to let you buy the spread all the way up to a 20-point spread. You, like, from what I've seen here in Vegas, is they'll let you add like 3 to 3.5 points, and that's it. So even then, like, you still could lose that bet. And then even if you won it, like, you win the pennies now, you might as well just bet straight up. So, like, there's a bunch of stuff. But, that's the extent that I know. I thank you for your information, man. I learned some stuff, man. I definitely learned how to do a little bit more research and how to go about it. So I'm gonna let you know, man.
Yeah, on the sports apps, they let you buy more points. You can just say like earlier how I said like 1 unit, like if you bet 110 to win 100, they have like super teasers where like you can buy 10 points on a team, but you're gonna have to buy 10 points on 4 teams to equal up that 1 unit. So yeah, it's a lot of things you can do.
Teasers, that's what they call it. You can tease.
Yeah, teasers, yeah.
Add the points or whatever you call it, teasing it. All right. Well, I'm done, Mark. I'm done.
All right. So Rickey, you're up, sir. Rickey does, like I said before, Rickey does daily fantasy betting. And with that, so I guess my first question would be, what site do you like to use for daily fantasy?
I'm a DraftKings junkie. I prefer DraftKings because the math is easier for you to break. FanDuel's cool and all, but they don't keep up with pricing the athletes properly. So you'll have somebody that's like on DraftKings that's like $2,500 for you to play. On FanDuel, they'll have the price $1,300 for whatever reason. So now that person goes from being an average play to a chalk play. Everybody's going to get onto this dude. When you have people that are considered chalk and everyone's playing, it kind of fucks with you beating the odds on those different kind of contests that I'll go into. Pretty much when you play DFS, there's unwritten rules to it. If you want to be successful at it, you want to play cash games. And what cash games are, those are 50-50 games. When you get in there, you'll have 22 people or 20 people get into a contest. 10 of those people are going to walk out with money. 10 people aren't going to walk out with money. So what you want to do is you want to create a team that involves 5 chalk people out of the 8. Let's just go for basketball, for example. So in your lineup, you're going to have 5 people that almost every lineup is going to have, and there's going to be 3 people that separate those. How you determine those 3 people that you separate is going to go off of what's going on in the league right now. So analytics comes into play for that. So let's just say, for example, you have a team playing against, let's say you have the Rockets playing against a big team like the Philadelphia 76ers. Mm-hmm. We all know that in that case, somebody like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are going to go the fuck off because they oversized them. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to plug Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons in. Then from there, you're going to find those little crappy teams all over like the Bulls. Let's just say Zach LaVine is playing for the night because he fucked up his kneecap for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. We all know at that point, Cody White is going to be the next up to go up to play. Because he's going up to play, you're going to pay down and plug him into he's going to be your, what's that term that Shawn used earlier? Your glass cannon. He's going to be your hit or miss person. In DFS, everything's calculated by math. So a lot of people don't know this, and this is what fucks them up. When you go in and play, everybody's based off fantasy points. So, of course, let's just say a good person like Russell Wilson, since he's a stat stuffer, he's averaged to about, 50 points per game you would expect for him from all of his stats across. That puts him at, $5, 10, 15, 20, well, $10,000 for you to get him. Now, for each $1,000 that you have invested in a person, that's 5 points. So you have to look at the team and go, okay, what's that? 5, 10, 15, 20, what's 5 times 10? That's that 50,000 that you want to get for. Can he get that tonight playing against a team like, who's the best team in the NBA from last year for guarding guards? Let's just say it's, for argument's sake, it's Utah. Utah locks down people for it. So no, you don't want to play him for there. Most likely he's not going to go off. So everything is really just done for math. What you want to base off is people who are playing bad. Let's say Paul George base is at $8,000 a night. If he has 2 games in a row that's bad, DraftKings is going to drop him down to $5,500. That's when you want to pick him now, because now he's at a value. We all know he averages that 40 points, but since he's undervalued by 15 points now, you pick him up and you put him on your team. I know that probably sounds really, really complicated. I could probably show you on the video better, but what all you're doing is you're doing math. Everybody's value is 5 points times $1,000.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they can't match that, you don't want to play them. And that goes down for those cheap plays where you see a person that's like, okay, I need somebody that's $3,000. Am I going to go get fucking Jake that's going to be in the starting lineup this week, or am I going to go trust fucking Klay Thompson because he's at $3,000? You go with the safer play in that instance. So a lot of times you're just doing the math. Can this person hit what he's supposed to be make? That 5 times value. That's all you want to do.
Yes. And I was just going to say, because for people that don't understand, there's a salary cap. You know what I'm saying? When he's talking about 5,000, these are basically the salaries for these players, and it's a cap. So you can't just go out and get all hitters because you're going to run out of space. Salary cap. You're going to run out of your salary basically. So and like you said, I understand what you're talking about. The biggest thing that I used to look at when I used to play DFS was I'm looking at points per dollar. And that's one of the biggest, things that people would say, because I don't know how it works with NBA, but I knew and I don't know the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel, because at the time when I was doing it, I was doing both. But I remember that sometimes you could have somebody, let's say you have a guy like, I'm gonna reference football because that's what I was playing. So you have a guy like Cole Beasley, or what you call him, Coke Beasley. You know what I'm saying, Ricky? Coke Beasley. You know what I'm saying? He goes off. Say he has a game where he goes off and he gets 35 or 30. Let's say because he's done it this year. He had a game where he went off for 25 fantasy points, right? He might have been he might be a guy that would be around maybe 3,500, maybe 4,000, right? Mm-hmm. But even though he had that one big game, right? his fantasy value only goes up a little bit for that week because of, like you said, they're taking the average of the collective body of work. So now he's worth 45 instead of 400. But if you're a smart person, like you see it, like the reason why his output went up is because of other injuries to the roster. You know, John Brown ain't there, all these other things. So you're like, this 25-point performance ain't a fluke. You know what I mean? Whatever points they're expecting him to get, he's still going to score above that. And for the price point that he's at, if you're going to get 20 points out of a guy that's 4,500 points or $4,500, like you said, you should be expecting 9 to 10 points. But if he's going to get you 15 for 4,500, then that's the guy you want to pick up and throw in there for the cheap. Like, so I know what you're saying. Like now, like I didn't know that's how they adjusted the prices. But the only thing I knew when I was playing was if you get a guy that doesn't regularly go off or a guy that's filling in for somebody, usually it takes a couple weeks before the price fully adjusts to their play. And that's for those couple of weeks while they're slowly adjusting up, you got to get those guys in your lineup if you want to have a chance.
Well, this is the thing with DraftKings. DraftKings for football, they'll adjust that shit instantly. For instance, when what's that dude's name from the Vikings? Dalvin Cook went down?
Yeah.
Instantaneously, Madison's fucking price shot up to what Dalvin Cook's was because they expected it. Now, with basketball, the shit is so constant, they don't get a chance to do that. So those prices don't get adjusted from day to day. So you can take advantage of it with basketball. Basketball, okay. I'm going to say when I was at my height of it, I was bringing home about monthly $3K.
Wow.
From off of playing DraftKings, and the whole basis off of that was playing cash games. I literally, every season, Darius and Charles can tell you this, I would start off with $20. I would play $3 games a day until I built my bank. What you want to do is just work on your bank. Every week you keep playing to get $20. By the end of the month, you'll have $80. Once you get that $80, then you move up to the next bracket of from playing $1 games to $2 games. And you just be patient. But the trick with that is you also enter your lineup for that cash game and one GPP game. Those GPP games are the games where they're like, yo, enter this contest, you can win $1 million.
And they usually do free. They have at least one free entry.
The free ones are bullshit. What the free ones do is they give you money, but it's not actual money. It's DK money. So all you can do is play it to use to play DraftKings.
I didn't know that.
You don't get your real money back. That's bullshit.
That's crazy. Okay, but still, you still want to do the winner take all joints, you know, or the ones where it'd be like 100 people in the game and it's like top 3 get paid out.
But no. You want to take the tournament games, but you want to take them that single entry. You don't want to enter the ones that have somebody that says they can enter 20 lines. Those dudes are the dudes that have a large bank and they're putting every possible thing that they can put in. And half the time, they break out even. They don't make any money.
Okay, see, those are the ones that I used to play. Now I know why I was losing. Because those are the ones I used to play, and I would just be like, I'm just going to play 5 lineups. Meanwhile, like you said, you got dudes throwing 50 different lineups in because they have the money to. And
those ones you don't win. Basketball is the easiest one to cheat because I can tell you the mathematical equation for basketball. Every 5 fantasy points equals $1K for the purchase. So if you see somebody who gets in there that's worth $5K, you're expecting 25 points from them. So you need to pay attention to that. That's why somebody, I don't know if you remember or can think off a hand, Klay Thompson, he falls between 6K and 5K. Once you see him drop below that 5K, you pick him up because he's going to give you that return. That's because he can score. Other than that, he won't stuff any other stats like rebounds and such like that.
But basically, if you see he's on a downslope, like you know it's going to come back up, so you want to get him for the cheap. And at the very least, if he has a down game, his price is already adjusted to that. So like you really don't got nothing to lose when you take him on a downslope, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like you're not expecting him. If his shit drops down to 4K, you're not expecting him to play a bunch below that 4K level. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. That's dope, buddy. Okay.
It's real easy it's really easy to cheat. Now, the only part about it that makes it very, very difficult, why I can't play it as much here as Alaska, is the time zone, but you have to pay attention to last-minute scratches. You set your line, that last 5 minutes will tell you everything, because all it takes is 5 minutes before the game starts. Anthony Davis isn't playing. You got to pull Anthony Davis out now. Now you're putting in LeBron, and you're adjusting two people. And that'll make the difference between making $5 that night and making $300 a night.
Now that's what you're talking about right there is the reason why I stopped when I at the time. I keep saying when I used to, because Vegas, for their reasons with the laws and everything in Nevada, like they basically outlawed the whole DFS and all this stuff, right? So like I had to stop. I didn't want to, but when I was playing at the time, that was the number one reason why like I actually quit playing basketball. Like they stopped me from playing football. The basketball thing that bothered me was like you saying, everybody's speculating this dude's gonna play. He rolled his ankle last game. He's good to go. He's doing warm ups and everything. Like he's doing shoot around and everything. And then next thing you know, literally, like you said, 5 minutes before game time, they're like, "Yo, he's sitting." And if you don't have your TV on, if you're not refreshing your sites, then you're not gonna know that. You know what I'm saying? At that last minute, you have to be paying attention. At least, but that's why I was stuck to NFLs, because if you don't know, 90 minutes prior to each game, they have to give their reports. They have to give the injury reports out. So if somebody's a game time decision, it's not literally a game time decision. They'll have that. They have to put that on paper 90 minutes prior to the start of the game. NBA does not have that rule. So a lot of times you will run it. Trust me, man. I put somebody in my lineup and it was just like 5 minutes before the game started, they said he wasn't playing. I didn't know. I'm sitting here looking at 0 points and I straight lost. Like I wasted money because I didn't know. Like, so that definitely NBA, you have to pay attention, man.
For you to get around that, I don't know if anybody listening or you guys yourself use Twitter. There's people you follow for that. Like for perfect one is Basketball Monster. Basketball Monster, they shoot out so much info. That's why I don't know if you guys noticed. I break you guys half in the news for basketball and football before the shit even makes it out to the media. There's certain people that you can follow to where I don't know how the hell they get it, but they're getting past Stephen A. Smith and Michael Rappaport, everybody's shit. So there are people like them during the season you want to keep up on because they're shooting information out constantly, and they'll even tell you some dumb shit that you would have never thought about. Like there was a point in time where I don't know if you guys remember when Jimmy Butler was with the Chicago Bulls. For whatever reason, Jimmy Butler destroys the Raptors. I couldn't tell you why. There's no analytic for it. You always know when Jimmy Butler plays the Raptors, you put him in. The money wouldn't make sense for it or nothing. But whenever he played those motherfuckers, he put up 70 fantasy points. It happened every time. There's sites that sit there and tell you, yo, we can't explain it. This is what happened, plays Jimmy Butler. You go to everybody else's sites, they'll be like, no, don't play him. He's a bad scratch. Then anybody who didn't play Jimmy Butler that night, they felt stupid. Basketball Monsters, they're one of those websites that'll tell you those stupid analytics that you never noticed.
Like it don't make sense in any other world of analytics, but they know it happened. Yeah,
they know it. But yeah, the DraftKings things, I'll even go as far as to say this: when the basketball season starts back on the 22nd, I'll start giving you guys whatever lines I'm gonna play. Go for it. But I'm gonna tell you straight up, hey, play these cash games, play these two. Play one GPP, see what happens. And Darius and them will tell you, I make them pay a lot of good bills just sitting there watching and playing this shit. For whatever reason, the math in it does not break because they have it set to where 5 fantasy points equals 1,000 fantasy dollars. And for whatever reason, for them doing that, it made it to where you can beat the system. It's all just simple math. Football, I haven't taken a timeout to figure it out yet, but I'm pretty sure if I sat down for a whole day, I could figure that out. Like for whatever reason, I know calculus, and that shit helps. I don't know what other way to tell you, but yeah.
Hey, he's saying he would get tossed out of a Vegas casino real fast. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll carry this man out with security and shit.
Nah, they'll break his fingers and then.
No, I'm not going to Vegas. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I have obsession issues even with fantasy. You see the amount of information, I'll just be like, well, I know this, this, and this for no damn reason. I couldn't go to Vegas because once I lose at something, I have to learn it until I can't lose or I feel that it's going to be a 60% win chance for me. I don't like losing, so yeah.
Yeah, you'll end up home real fast, dog. Anyway, but like Zoo, man. But definitely, man. I don't got nothing else, man. I'm just reminds me of how much I miss DFS here in Vegas, man. Like I really do.
You guys can't play DFS there?
Well, let me just put it this way. When it comes to gambling here, all gambling has to go through sanctions here in Nevada for their laws and everything. Like the same thing, like for example, Uber wanted to come here, but it stepped on the toes of the cab drivers. They really, like, Uber has completely different laws here in Vegas because it's Vegas, and the business of taxi cabs is so huge and people make livings off of it. Like if they would have just let Uber come in here like any other place, they would have made a lot of people lose jobs. But either way, with the DFS thing, they're like, yo, this is considered, like, Vegas is, like, Nevada is the only place, like, remember when they had the whole lawsuits where they're trying to figure out whether it's gambling or not? Nevada didn't even wait for a federal ruling on that shit. Nevada was the first ones to come out and say, this shit's gambling. And they was like, look, we determine it's gambling. Either y'all need to come through us or y'all don't. Because Nevada has a rule where all sports betting has to go through the casinos. So even when we do it on the app, like when you first go to register, you have to go physically to the casino, register, set up your account, put physical money, give it to them over the counter. They add it to your account, and then you can use their apps.
Oh, fuck that. That sounds like a headache.
Yeah, so like because everything has to go, the casinos want they cut. So basically, DFS is like, yo, we consider it gambling. You either have to give the casinos they cut, or you cannot run your shit here. And DFS, thank God, the DFS folks. I mean, for them, good business move. Like, yo, they'll shove it, man. Fuck y'all. And they just said we're gonna continue doing business everywhere. And then when the federal ruling came out and said that it was good to go, they was like, we don't need you, Vegas. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be in every other state except for Nevada.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so we just stuck out here, man. It sucks, man. But whenever I go, like if I go on like a work trip, like the last time I went on a trip to Florida, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing DFS right now. I'm about to do all the DFS I can. you know?
Nice.
Yeah, so that's why I gotta wait till I go out of state.
That sucks, but I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So, Rickey, thank you for that. You were giving out information so fast and so concise that I really did. Like, I was like, all right, there go that question. I'm like literally looking at my phone, like, all right, that question's gone. That question's gone. All right, there. He just covered all those questions. All right, I'm done. Cool, sweet.
He was killing it, bro. Like my mind was like, yeah, I remember that, and I was like, I didn't know that. Man, I didn't know that either. This is why I was losing. Like, it's all making sense now, man, and it just sucks because I'm getting all this information and I can't fucking use it. Mark, you got to do this, man. You got to do this for the both of us, man.
Legitimately, what I'm going to end up doing is listening to this episode like 3 or 4 times so I could get both, so I could just play back what both of you were saying. I greatly appreciate that, guys. This was that turned out exactly how I wanted it to. So with that, man, let's move on into fantasy football. The fun part of the conversation. I am in the fantasy football league with all 4 people in this lineup. Shawn is also in every one of these leagues as well. I'm just going to give my story. I went 3 for 3 for the second time all season. And that's largely because of the Buccaneers, man. The Buccaneers shit in the bed saved me in 2 leagues, bro. like in one league, like I have DeAndre Hopkins. Like, yo, I was up by like 110 or something like that. going into the game, and I still like, and I had Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins and stuff, so I'm like, oh, I got this in the bag. And of course, DeAndre and Derrick Henry give me 12 points combined. Like, so.
Yeah, poo platter, man.
Yeah, like dog, that shit was trash. So like, I was like, dog, I'm going to lose. This dude got Tom Brady left, and he got Gronkowski left. I was like, oh, this is a dead beat. But they came out, stunk the bed up. Tom almost had negative points, so I won that game. And then in the Lions versus Men League, I won that game. I was up by 15 points going into that Buccaneers game. He had Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette only gave him 10 points, so I won that as well. And lastly, in the game in the league where I've been stinking at all year, and it's which is the trash league, I've changed my team name to where points go to die for everybody that's out there.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, Mark. When I seen that shit, and I was like, dog, he didn't even want to capitalize the letters in that shit. This motherfucker's hurt.
Like, yo, because here's the thing, man. For everybody that's out there, I want you to know, like legitimately, like, I pick a guy up, he'll go off for like 3 weeks straight, and then I'll pick him up, and he has a great matchup too. Like, Jerry McKinnon had a phenomenal matchup, and then all of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan bum ass decided, you know what? Hasty's going to start, and fucking McKinnon's not going to.
He took the lion's share. He took everything.
Yeah, like McKinnon didn't see a snap. I don't think, dog. Like he got me a point. He got me a single point. Like it's stuff like that. Like, dog. Like Drew Brees when I had him was trash. Like 12, 14.
At the height of the noodle arm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was this was the beginning of the season, so his arm was as fresh as can be. And I'm watching that joint come out as a noodle in game 3. I'm like, all right. So I had to get rid of him, and then all of a sudden, like, now he's starting to put up points on short passes. Like, so after I dropped him, you know what I mean? Like Cooper Kupp, whenever he's in my lineup, he gives me like 12 points. He's sitting on my bench with 25. Like, come on, dog. Like,
so Mark, that Cam Newton release was like so funny.
Yo, in our other league, man, the week that Cam Newton like shot the bed horribly, like the guy dropped a mid game, like
mid game. That's what was funny, dog. That's what was funny as hell. In the middle of the game, you just saw it pop up on your notifications. It said Cam Newton dropped. Like, and I was like, oh, and like, so I went in there like, dog. I was like, yo, you had enough, huh? You had enough. You know how mad you gotta be to drop a player while the game is still being played? I was dying. I thought I read it wrong. It was like he dropped them during the game. I'm like, can you even do that? And then he popped in. He was like, yeah, I've had enough. I was like, oh shit, he's upset about this. He's really upset about this. Like,
yeah,
like he.
That was hilarious.
In the middle of the game, I was like, I don't even know if I got any. I ain't got no words to console you with, my brother. Like,
but yeah, man.
I'm shocked we can even do that. That's wild.
Yeah, I put together 2 wins in the trash league. Shout out to Darius, who said I was trash. Well, I beat you, so.
Darius, what you gotta say? Oh shit, man. Never mind. You're not even on here, man. We got to put you on these.
I got one more win to go, because honestly, my like I don't think my team is going to win at all. I just got to do better than Shawn did last year. That's my only goal.
Man, so, better than I did last year.
That's
BK's having my year that I had last year.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like,
Man, I'm like, BK got everybody putting up a 150 on him. I'm like, he's the only team that gets more points scored against them than mine right now in the trash.
Well,
league.
now he has a squad. Like if Green Bay go off, it's a wrap every week.
Like, I need you and Ricky to explain to me when this fool got Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. When did this shit happen?
Okay, so he drafted Devontae Adams and
Aaron Rodgers. He had Aaron Rodgers.
No, Michael Thomas. Thomas. Those were his first 2 draft picks. And then he ended up trading Charles, Michael Thomas, for Aaron Jones and Waller, I think it was, because I was pissed.
That's right. We talked about that Waller trade, Mark. I was like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
That was the rape trade. We talked about
it. But here's the thing. That's exactly what Charles got, though. Because he traded him away, and Michael Thomas was hurt.
He was supposed to come back.
Yeah, and he was he punched somebody, and then he was hurt.
And then what? Because he got Darren Waller too, and then Darren Waller threw up a dud, or Darren Waller got hurt or something. Was it? Either way,
I think he got hurt.
He got hurt. I just remember he got both of them, and he was like, "Nah, dog, it wasn't a dirty trade. It was all clean." And then I don't know if you noticed it, Ricky. Like 20 minutes later, this dude picked up Jamal Williams. I was like, man, this old cheating ass. He knew.
I was pissed off about that because I was Aaron Jones is hurt, right?
And then he was like, yeah, because Jamal Williams been getting so you trying to say that Aaron Jones is everything and there ain't no change in the ball in the carry share and none of that shit. Like, yo, you getting the prime Aaron Jones, but the very first thing you do is pick up Jamal Williams, but you trying to tell us you didn't fleece this man? Like, yo, I was mad about that shit, Ricky. Though I didn't bring it up later.
He hit him with a mark. He was like, it's almost Halloween. I got this new mark mask. Bam. It's time for the shady shit. I was so heated off that, man.
I don't do shady trades, though. Like, that's crazy.
Well, you tried to trade me Courtney Sutton for fucking George Kittle. I will never forget that.
But listen, I want... Now, for everybody out there, he's not talking about this year. He's talking about last year. And Courtland Sutton was averaging. Courtland Sutton was average. He was balling last year. Courtland Sutton was balling last year. Now, I do understand that George Kittle is a higher value at tight end than Courtland Sutton is at wide receiver. But as far as point totals, at the time of the trade, their point totals were even.
What's that snake shit I'm talking about? That
shit sounds good, don't it, Ricky? That shit sounds good, don't it?
Mark, their point totals are high, right? So why don't you want to keep Courtney Sutton if the point totals are high?
No, because I needed a tight end at the time. I had DJ Shark who was balling. I had Tyreek Hill and I had Cooper Kupp. And Courtland Sutton was sitting on my bench. Like, I had my lineups. My lineup was locked.
Hey, Ricky must not have been that good if he was sitting on the bench. Anyways,
let me tell you this, Shawn. Courtney Sutton got hurt the next week. Right when I told him, fuck that trade, Courtney Sutton got hurt.
He didn't.
Yo, this
Mike
shit
was trying to set me up.
Yo, that's one thing you can't say. Last season, dog, I was willing and dealing and switching up my lineup every week to the bitter end, dog. Now remember,
but here's the thing. I got fleeced by Shawn. Because and real rap, it wasn't like an intentional fleecing, but it's just how it worked out. Yeah, it's just how it worked out.
Team, Mark.
That shit, I would have probably won that league if it wasn't for that T.Y. Hilton shit. T.Y. Hilton killed me.
That was a DJ Shark, T.Y. Hilton. Because
I traded you too. It was other players involved in that trade.
That was like the main part of the trade that really fucked you, was like giving up DJ Shark and then getting T.Y. Hilton. And T.Y. Hilton being hurt for the rest of the season, basically. Yeah. Like, I remember that. But I was willing and dealing all year, and I was making good trades, and I was like, yo, my players just keep getting, people just keep putting 150 on my head every week. I can't do nothing, man. That shit was like the worst, man. Like, so Mark felt defeated like week 6 this year. I'm like, dog, you ain't even reached week 11 yet. Like, what are you talking about?
Bro, like, listen, like Shawn and Troy, you both played multiple years with me. Rickey has only played 1 year with me. Like, y'all know, like, losing in fantasy is something I don't really do that much. Like, so when that shit happened, so when looking at this team right now, I'm sick. Like, this is only.
You know me now. You know me. I'm usually in the playoffs. And if I'm not in the playoffs, it's either some crazy ass injuries or me just having people.
Or I knocked you out the playoffs, you know.
Man, like, see, first off, you talking about, I said if I'm in the playoffs or if I'm not in play. Don't play with me, man. That means I made it to the playoffs. Stop playing, Mark.
No, I'm saying, all right.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, dog. Anyway, you understand. That year that I had last year, it really sucked that I had that year in 750 because I know how these niggas are. And then we show up to 750. I just got back in 750. You know what I'm saying? These cats ain't seen me in like 6 years. I'm like, yo, what up, man? We just get back, and then they ain't never played fantasy football with me. You know, I hop in here and I get my bell rung for 10 weeks straight. Like, they calling me trash. Tobias comes in every week. He don't even say nothing to nobody. He just talking shit to me. Like, bruh, you know how that shit felt last year? Like, I've never been the bottom team ever in fantasy. I've been playing fantasy football since 2000. I'm 20 years deep in this shit. I ain't never been the bottom team.
Yo, Tobias said to me this year, "Good game, pussy," and I was like,
the illest shit that happened to you, Mark, was the 1.4 performances got in back-to-back weeks. Dog, you can't script this shit. Like, you got back-to-back 1.4 point performances from studs, from guys who's supposed to be giving you points, dog. This shit was wild. Like, and then, of course, Tobias shows up the very next week, and he don't say nothing but 1.4, and then he just dip out the chat. Like,
like, dog. He gonna say, "Good game, pussy." I was like, why I gotta be all that, dog?
Hostile as fuck too, man. I was like, damn, dog. I don't know why he really hate losing. Man.
And what was wild was, Shawn, I told you before that game, because I got that bad information about Tennessee, that I was like, I'm sitting Derrick Henry because I just, for my conscious reasons, if he sat somebody because of that, because of bad information, because of me, then I'm going to leave Derrick Henry on the bench, which was the only reason why he won. And then me doing a good deed, he comes in and says, "Good game, pussy." Like, yo.
Hey, Mark, you're better than me because I don't care what bad information you got. Derrick Henry's playing. I drafted that nigga first. He's playing. I would have whooped his ass.
You know what the worst part about it was? Mark was actually if I'm not mistaken, Mark was in the league. It had a good position to possibly win the game, but of course it played out differently. And of course, if you started there, like, it wasn't even like the game was already out of hand. Like, Mark had a little bit of a lead, and it was like, yo, he might still have a chance. And then, of course, Tobias squeezed that shit out, and then it's a good game, pussy. I don't know, man. That's just hilarious to me that I got trashed for a whole season, not just by Tobias, by literally everybody in the league. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Mark, I've never been at the bottom of the barrel. Like, right now, for example, I'm number 1 in the No Drama League. I'm number 2 in the NFL League. I think I'm what am I number 2 in the Lions versus Men League? Where am I in that one?
You like number 6.
You number something everywhere but the trash league.
There's a bunch of people tied.
I'm fifth in that league. I'm 5. I got a winning record in all of them. Round 5 and 4 in that league. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't be on the bottom, dog. I be in the playoffs. That shit hurt my soul last year, Rickey, dog. That shit. And then, of course, y'all was just like, you trash. I ain't never seen you play before, so all we got is this 1 year to go off. You garbage. They started off this year calling me garbage.
Hey, man, you got trash awards every week. The person in the last place every week got the trash award. It's in the Hall of Fame, too.
This shit was terrible, man. So yes, I'm glad. I'm feeling a little bit vindicated, but I gotta wait for the season to play off before I started talking my trash, yo. Because like this shit is so fragile. Like in our league, I don't know if you got. Well, obviously to the listeners, man, we got in the trash league with and on NFL.com, like we got 5 teams with a 5-4 record, spanning from second place to 6th place in a 10-team league. Like this is a tight. And then we got people right below that, which are like what? That are 4-4. So like, or excuse me, 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
4 and 5. So we got like it's a tight race. Like this shit is gonna go down to the wire. So like I can't even be happy that I'm in second place. Only reason why I'm in second place is because my team is the leading scorers in the league right now. Like I could be 60 points shorter than I am right now, and I would be in 5th place. Like. It's crazy, man. So like, I can't even brag about being 5-4 in 2nd place. Like,
Good.
It don't matter because I'm gonna win all of this. It really don't matter.
Dog, we're not even gonna worry about you, Ricky. You keep tinkering with your lineup. We're gonna be straight, man. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be straight. You just gonna self-destruct. Like you already proved that last year.
I'm gonna tell you from right now. I'm gonna grab Zach Moss off this waiver wire, and I'm winning this entire thing. It's a wrap. I'm not even messing with my
that Zach Moss is saving your season. Then you know what? That's fitting, Ricky. You go ahead and grab Zach Moss, and he'll save your season. Good luck.
Zach Moss. I'm gonna have Zach Moss as my running back too, and I'm about to trade one of these running backs for wide receiver 1, and it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Watch.
Hey, you gotta get that wide receiver 1 though. I'm not even gonna lie. If you get that wide receiver 1, we can talk, but you need that wide receiver 1. And don't nobody want to give it to you. I'm still mad at Coach. No, I'm going to talk about this. I'm mad at Coach, man. He had like 6 running backs on his roster in like week 4 or some shit, man. I tried to trade him a fair trade, man. I think I was trying to give him Julio for one of his bench running backs. And he was like, you know what? That's a good trade. But I don't want to make you too good. I'm like, I'm 1-3 right now. I'm 1-3, and you're gonna tell me you don't want to make me too good? I'm 1-3.
My running back just getting healthy.
I was mad, dog. I'm not even gonna lie, Ricky, dog. That's like I don't even care about the rest of the trades that I got, but that one, yo, if I'm like I offered him, I don't even remember. Like I think this was. Did he have Chris Carson? Did you get Chris Carson from him?
I got Chris Carson from Ridley.
Dog, I'm pretty sure I offered him straight up Chris Carson for Julio, and he was like, and he was like, I think I was offering a 2-for-1. It don't even matter. I think I was offering him a wide Julio with another running back. I think I was offering him like Julio and Ronald Jones for like fucking for Chris Carson. He was like, yeah, that's a good trade, but I don't want to make you better. I'm like, okay, you know how sick I am right now? I've been looking for a running back since, like. And then like the very next week he traded Chris Carson for some. I was like, dog, I was sick, dog. I didn't want to say nothing to him, dog.
He got Calvin Ridley from me. So he came up off of that one.
What were you going to say, Troy?
He took Calvin Ridley, but he didn't take who? But nah, man. But either way, I just knew that maybe he traded with you because he thought that your team at the time didn't have as much potential as mine. And it really made me sick that he was acting like he wasn't going to trade Chris Carson, and then the very next week he traded Chris Carson to you.
No, we argued for several days for that. Almost everybody I tried to get a trade with was like, your team's too good. You're winning. You're getting this and that. And I'm going to be honest.
Ricky's sitting in first place, and he going to trade with him, but I'm sitting in fucking 8th place, and he won't trade with me? Dog, I was hot, dog. But
low key, I gave Lamar Jackson to Darius for what the fuck I gave him to, because I'm hoping Darius beats Coach. As long as Coach don't win the championship this year, I don't give a fuck what I got to give up.
Hey, man, I can't take too many more table slams, dog. I can't take too many more we're going to be a whole lot of table slams and you boys in trouble if Coach wins the championship, man. I can't deal with Coach. Like, Coach is the type of dude that's going to be quiet and silent when he's getting his head bashed in. But then as soon as this dude gets to a chip, I bet you he's going to be talking the most shit in the group.
All right. Yeah, what were you going to say, Troy?
Well, I say my running backs just got healthy.
CMC?
No, not CMC.
Chubb.
Man, I don't know. But is Hunt going to be taken away from him?
No. It's better than the running backs I got in.
Like, listen, here's the thing. In Lions versus Men, I want y'all to know that I'm currently sitting at 5-4 with both of my top running backs missing over 6 weeks of the season. Like, so, and that's CMC and Austin Eckler, both been out most of this season, and I'm still winning. If CMC proves to be healthy after the shoulder injury that happened this at the end of the game this week,
let me just say what his team looks like so Rickey could get this, because this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not going to start a quarterback. I'll get to that last. Wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins. He has Fulgham. He still has Keenan Allen on that team. He has Justin Jefferson. And he has Robinson as one of his running backs. He picked up Edmonds, so now he has Edmonds too. While he still had, this is just that those guys are just filling in for Eckler and CMC. So he's going to have CMC, Eckler, Hopkins, and Fulgham. And then he has Hunter Henry and Hayden Hurst at tight end. So he's probably going to start Hayden Hurst. He's going to have a starting lineup of Hayden Hurst, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey. What'd I say for wide receiver?
DeAndre Hopkins and Fulgham.
DeAndre Hopkins and then Keenan Allen. Right? And then his quarterback is Derek Carr. Like, I don't want to fucking see this motherfucker. And he has your boy. He has Koo. He has his kicker.
Mm-hmm. Young Ho gonna win it all for you. Young Ho gonna win it all.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm really concerned. I was concerned about this man's team at the draft, but with his pickups off the waiver wire, I'm definitely upset because him getting Edmonds and Fulgham off the waiver wire just solidified that shit, man.
And like, Ricky, as you know, Claypool is on every team that I own. He's just
that boy there. Trash.
That boy trash. Yo, I like you, Ricky. Why you gotta be on that? Why you gotta lie on that, man?
Listen.
Well, Big Ben's gonna be dead, so that shit going out the window. Like he's not
true. Hey, everybody's trash when Mason Rudolph get in the game. That's
facts. That's facts.
Hey,
Mason is trash.
Not James Conner. James Conner go to fuck off when he's in. So
that's all you can do.
All right. But
okay, real quick. I want to mention my team.
Huh?
I wanted to mention my team real quick in Lions versus Man, because I got Russ, Tyler Lockett, Michael Thomas, James Conner, Dalvin Cook, Brandon Ayuk, and I have Noah Fant. That's who I got in right now. But I also have, I still have Robbie Anderson, and I still have Brandon Cooks and Jimmy Graham and Jamison Crowder. But really, I mean, even with that, I need those dudes to just go the fuck off every week. And everything hinges, my success absolutely hinges on Michael Thomas. Like, Michael Thomas has to do something now that he's back. But hopefully, if I can get these games out of Michael Thomas that he got last year and couple that with the way Dalvin Cook is going this year.
Dalvin Cook, man, amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I could get 50 a game off of them two boys, I might be able to get you some trouble in that league, Mark.
Yeah.
Especially with the way Russ is playing. So.
So let's get into this for real though, because that was like 10 minutes, and I apologize to the fans of that. We kind of got on a tangent there, but listen, what do you guys like? Waiver wire is getting thin, and so who do you guys, just name one player each that you guys would suggest fans go out and pick up for their team? I'm gonna start with you, Shawn. One player.
All right, give me a second, because I'm looking at the waiver wire stuff, and I know I had somebody in mind about who was out there. This is hard. You know what? I'm gonna look at what I'm going after on the waiver wire. I mean, I'm probably not going to get what I want to get, but okay, here's one for sure. I'm going to go defense. If I was you guys, man, if you guys are looking for a defense, and if this defense is still available in your league, which it might be, it seems to be, People haven't really caught on to the fact that this is not a drill. This is not a fluke. Dolphins defense, if they're available, take them now. They're week 11, Denver, week 12, Jets, week 13, Bengals. They have a tough matchup with the Chiefs in week 14. Week 15, they got New England. And then week 16, if your leagues are even going that far, you got the Raiders. But they got favorable matchups. They're a team that's been I believe they've scored the most defensive touchdowns. They're getting a lot of turnovers, and these guys, whenever they lock in those cornerbacks, they lock down whatever quarterback, whatever receivers they're going against. Miami defense is not a fluke. If you guys are looking for a defense, you pick them up now and you run them for the rest of the year.
Okay. Ricky.
Well, as much as it's going to hate to hear this, since we got two Philly fans on here, I'm going to say, if you don't have Nelson Aguilar on your team and you need a wide receiver, you are tripping. This man catches touchdowns every fucking week after week, and they've been big bombs. Like, I know it pains you that he wasn't doing it there in Philly, but he's doing it with the Raiders, so you got to respect it. Everybody thought.
Mark.
Look at this man's face.
Did Nelson Aguilar ever play the outside when he was on our team?
Yeah, he did when whatchamacallit got hurt.
He played mostly the slot. Right?
Yeah, he played mostly the slot though. Yes.
They got him on the outside catching streaks.
Everything.
This bull couldn't track a ball here. Lost it in the lights every single time.
You know what got to him? His old buddy at the scene of that fire. That's what got to him, that video, you know what I'm saying? Like, unlike Aguilar, you know what I'm saying? That's what got him. He probably had that shit on repeat over the offseason, man. He's like, yo, I can't go out like this.
That boy got hands of gold right now.
People should be worried about lives being saved at a fire, but instead they're talking about how bad my hands are. I got to do something.
All right, Troy. Give me one player, sir.
One player. If you need a wide receiver, in case somebody get hurt for like a flex, I like Jerry Jeudy. I think he's gonna get better.
So who?
He's out there in league still?
He in ours.
Jeudy? When you say ours, you talking about Lions versus men?
Yep.
He's showing about to go get this.
No way that dude out. But
not no more. I just placed my claim on him.
Yeah, hey, my claim's be low as hell, man, because I'm one of those dudes, man. Like, if you look at my waiver wire shit at the end of the season, it'd be like, yo, you put in 58 claims this year.
Yeah.
Like my shit in the NFL league, I'm gonna tell you right now, Ricky, at the end of the year, my shit gonna say like 96. I put in like 5 to 10 waiver claims every week, man. Like, it gets pretty crazy, man. But I'm looking at my wide receivers, and I guess if I have Tyler Lockett and Michael Thomas, and then Brandon Ayuk, and then Crowder, like Brandon Cooks, I guess you know what it is, man. This year is just the year of the wide receiver, bro. Like, if you don't have a solid 3 wide receivers, you just lost. You just doing something wrong, man. Like, everybody's eating, it seems like, this year.
Yes. Yes, it does. All right, so my one player that I would suggest for me is Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson's available in a lot of leagues. But here's the thing.
Hey, yo, Ricky, you all right, man?
Here's the thing. The one reason why I'm suggesting Duke Johnson is because he is the pass catching back, and we've seen it in times where he has been able to actually play when given the opportunity, particularly in Cleveland. But he hasn't been given that in Houston, and we know why that is, because Bill O'Brien is trash. Now, I will say this, one thing about Duke Johnson is the fact that this particular year, he got hit with the injury early on in the season, and in times that he's been put in the game, he hasn't looked great. But he is the pass catching back, so therefore, if he's forced to take up time, you have a very good chance of getting points from him if you're in a PPR, because he'll be utilized more in that way. So, and there's there's an off chance that he has a bounce back game and actually plays to his potential that he has shown in the past. So,
Mark, that shit don't sound very convincing, dog.
I'm just saying, right now you need a running back, and David Johnson is definitely not. More than likely, David Johnson's not going to play.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna give you two quick ones that you guys might want to pay attention to. First, y'all laughed at Zach Moss, but keep in mind, Zach Moss is someone good to get because of the schedule. He got Arizona, he got the Chargers, he got San Fran, he got Pittsburgh, he got Denver, New England, and Miami. All of those except for Pittsburgh suck against the rush. Second of all, him and Singleton split carries in that offense. But the big thing is Zach Moss gets all the goal line carries, which are almost all of them. So you got that upside. The second person to look out for is David Montgomery's hurt, and he probably won't be playing. Look at Lamar Miller. No one's paying attention to him, but he's been on the practice squad for the past 2 weeks. He's probably going to end up getting put to the starting line, and he's going to probably go off for Chicago. That's it.
Those are good. Those are good ones. I mean, I did snicker at the Zach Moss hit only because of you count on the Savior season. But I will say this: that you are right about the goal line carries, and also Zach Moss is starting to dig in to those into this split backfield. In the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting that 50% share. Now he is. There's a chance that he could possibly over time start to overtake that to where he's getting a majority of the carries over Singletary. So I do believe that's now if you buying into Zach Moss, you buying into the current situation and the potential that he could even see more touches than he's already seeing now. My only thing is just if you guys go after Zach Moss, please understand that he is touchdown dependent.
Remember last year when people believed in Devin Singletary?
I remember that. Mark, remember, I believed in him so much that I picked up Frank Gore immediately on all my teams.
Yeah, like Devin Singletary, I said that boy trash.
I don't like him. I don't think
people was like, nah, he good. Nah, that boy trash.
He's had a whole 2 years to show me something. He ain't shown me shit. Like Zach, to be honest with you, Ricky, like Zach Moss should be the starter. He shouldn't be sharing any carries with Singletary. But
like the only reason why Singletary is getting any shine or anything is because of his draft position.
Oh, every time, dog.
His draft position is dictating what the time that he's getting, not anything else, man. Like he's not very good. Like it's this. I mean, it's the same conversation that I have about a lot of players. Like draft position will have the better player playing behind some garbage a lot. Like we've seen. I mean, Royce Freeman's not garbage, but draft position is what had Royce Freeman still taking snaps from Philip Lindsay. Even though Philip Lindsay was just better, like in every way.
Lindsay, real quick, I'm gonna throw this stat out here for you, Ricky. If you didn't know, if I'm not mistaken, Philip Lindsay is for the year is averaging like 6.5 yards per carry on the year. He's leading the league in yards per carry on the year. The last 2 or 3 games he's averaging like 10 yards a carry. There's absolutely no reason why Philip Lindsay should be sharing carries with anybody. Like after last year, after his first 2 years, I thought, okay, for sure, they could see that he's better than Royce Freeman. Then they kind of said, okay, basically it looked like Philip Lindsay was going to be the starter. And then what happens? They go and get Melvin Gordon, and I'm just like, why? It doesn't. It's like they're intentionally trying to keep him down, man. I don't know how you feel about. Me and Mark talk about it, but how do y'all see that? Like,
Troy, you can go ahead and start that one off.
Troy, go ahead.
Lindsey definitely should be getting the majority of the carries. He on my fantasy team. I picked him up. I mean, he don't get more carries, but then it also hurts that they always falling down in games. So at the end of the games, they got to pass. But in the beginning of the game, they should be running with him.
Exactly. If a dude is averaging, like, how is it that he had 2 games where he averaged 10 yards a carry, but he only had 9 games in one? He had 9 carries in one game, and he had 8 carries in the other.
He forced them back.
One of them got hurt. I get that, but one of them he didn't get hurt. The game that he didn't get hurt at halftime, he had 8 carries for the whole game.
When they played
in the healthy game.
When they played the Chargers, they kept giving Melvin Gordon the ball, and then finally they just gave Lindsey a draw. They wasn't trying to score anything. They just okay, let's give him a draw. Busted wide open, 55 yards. He scored. Give me the ball.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. So Ricky, what do you think about Philip Lindsay? I know you be having good takes on like the under the radar guys.
I think the problem that Philip Lindsay has that no one talks about is he can't block.
Yeah, but
you know what? At some point though, you can say, hey, he's a first 2 downs guy, and then you can bring in Melvin Gordon for the 3rd down back. It's not a foreign concept,
right? Especially. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But no, especially now that they have, because they have Melvin Gordon, you bring him in as the 3rd down back because you still not giving it away that you're passing because you have
Melvin Gordon is still a threat to run.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon is still a threat to run. A lot of times you want to go with the other guy simply because he won't give the play away. But in this particular case, you switching out to Melvin Gordon won't give the play away. So you should roll with Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, they know Philip Lindsay's in the game. They know they're not passing it to him. Shit. They know they're not even passing the ball. And what happens? He's still going to bust it. He's still going to average 5 to 6 yards a carry.
But I think it's one of those things to where you have to look at the upside on your quarterback. You have somebody like Locke who likes to throw the deep ball. Now, if he's not being blocked, what happens?
But this is the thing. But that's why, and I'm gonna harken back to the Titans and what they did. Their offense is a lot more free and open for Tannehill this year. But last year, the first thing they did when he replaced Mariota was they went to a basic play action game. We're gonna run the shit out of Derrick Henry, and then we're gonna take a play action shot play down the field whenever we can. Now, but the reason why I believe that Denver won't do that is because they went out of their way. They got a bunch of young receivers. They went out. Drew Lock looks good, and they're just like, we don't want to reduce Drew Lock to being that guy. But then it becomes a decision: do you want to win these games, or are you trying to develop Drew Lock, so to speak, at the expense of winning games?
Well, I think it's one of those ones where that is exactly what they want to do, develop Lock. You have John Elway as their GM, who was what? So, of course, he's going to be like, I want you to throw the ball versus give Philip Lindsay. And not to be funny,
hey,
I'm going to go back on Mark's comment. You have all this draft capital in Lock, all these wide receivers, and you want me to focus on fucking Philip Lindsay, who we found in the dumpster outside of the arena? Like, hey, I can't do it.
And I'm glad that you mentioned, and just for this point, I'm glad you mentioned Elway, because guess what? They also found a running back in the dumpster. His name is Terrell Davis, and he's the only reason why John Elway has 2 rings.
Not if you ask John Elway why.
What?
John Elway can say whatever the fuck he wants. He lost enough Super Bowls to understand that without Terrell Davis having a 2,000-yard season, you know what I'm saying? Terrell Davis was busting off 200-yard games in the playoffs. He knows why he has those rings. He can say whatever the fuck he wants when you ask him. But when he goes to sleep at night, he knows why. Because they found a running back in a dumpster that showed up and showed out, and that's why they got. So, like, if anybody understands that a quarterback, no matter how good they are, that they need the running back to be able to run, it's John Elway.
Yeah.
That's that's why I think Zano is a trash GM. That's why I think he's trash. I think he's trash president of football operations, whatever the fuck he do out there. He's garbage.
With that, we are running up against the time, and I think we have gotten quite a bit of good information from you guys from in general. So we're gonna close this one out, fellas. Again, appreciate you guys coming on, Rickey, Troy. Greatly appreciate it. It was fun having this conversation. Definitely want to have you guys on again. For anybody that noticed, I am wearing official eye test merch. I'm wearing the hoodie. This was provided by our fight correspondent Tyrone. And so Small World Artistry, support him. This hoodie is very comfortable, man. He'll make anything that you want. So if you need them for any logo designs or anything like that, he's your guy. He also made this picture that's on that I use as my screensaver here. It's Spawn versus Scorpion. So
that's fire.
So yeah.
He's an artist.
So he's an artist. So if you need any designs, he's your guy to go to. Like I said, Smart World Artistry. I'll have the link in the bio and stuff. And if you would like this hoodie, let us know in the comments or give a shout out to Tyrone. Yeah, man. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Shawn, as always, man. Always a pleasure. Troy with the B-Dog jersey. Gotta shout that out because it's just only the greatest Eagle of all time in my eyes. So
can't argue with that.
Gotta shout it out,
Mark
bro.
Sanchez.
Huh?
Boy, if you don't sit your ass down. Boy, if you don't sit your ass down, man.
See,
you know
you see that? Like, I ain't even hear it. Like, yo,
yeah,
I just blocked that right out. Like, all right, man. So with that one being said, peace.
All right, man. See y'all later, man.